Hello Warhammer Explorers. Before we dive in, hit subscribe so the next transmission isn't lost to the warp. Every click tells me to keep building this universe with you. What if a Space Marine arrived in the DC universe? On the bridge of the strike cruiser, Valiant Spear, Brother-Captain Marius of the Ultramarines watches a new kind of warp storm bloom in the void above a dying world. The ship's librarian tells him that this storm does not just twist normal space, but opens into another universe where a vast human world cries out in strange, bright signals. Marius repeats his simple oath in his heart: protect mankind, no matter the world, no matter the cost. He walks into the experimental teleportarium, a holy gate that will hurl him into that storm, even though each use cuts his gene-crafted flesh and scars his soul. The machine screams, the warp answers, and reality shatters around him. The sky above Metropolis splits. Not a clean line, a jagged wound. Purple and red lights spill through thick clouds. Cars skid to a halt. People point up. Phones rise like a field of tiny glass mirrors. A 10-year-old boy named Jamie stands outside a corner store with a plastic bag of snacks. His mouth hangs open as lightning crawls in slow, heavy shapes across the torn sky. The Daily Planet globe turns in the distance, framed against the rip. The air hums against his teeth. High above the city, in the Justice League watchtower, alarms flash across screens. "Source?" Batman asks. His voice is flat, but his eyes move fast behind the cowl. "Not magic," Wonder Woman says. She stands with arms folded, eyes on the main window. Her armor glints in the red light filtered from Earth below. This feels wrong. It is not from my gods. Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, leans in closer to a sensor display. "I'm getting power levels off the chart. Not like a mother box. Not like Apocalypse. This is something else." The Flash vibrates in place, legs restless. So not Darkseid, not Brainiac, not some fifth dimension prankster. New nightmare. Great. Superman steps toward the teleport pad at the center of the room. The light from the screens paints his cape a deeper red. "Whoever or whatever is doing this, people are in danger," he says. "I'm going down." He vanishes in a blur of blue and red. The wound in the sky swells. It pulses like a slow heartbeat. A bright shape falls out of it, trailing fire and shards of light. It looks, at first, like a meteor. Jamie drops his snacks and stares up. "Dad," he whispers, though his father is not there. The falling thing grows bigger. There is a roar, not only of air breaking, but of something else. A low chant in a language his mind cannot hold. Someone screams, cars slam into each other, people run. The falling shape changes. Thrusters flare on its back, bright as small suns. The shape slows, shifts angle. It aims, not for the street, for the airliner that is trying to rise from the nearby airport, its wing clipped by a stray shockwave from the rip. The plane lists, one engine coughing flame. It starts to roll. Superman reaches it, first, catching the nose, straining as he pushes it steady. His teeth grit. Heat crawls along his arms. Then the falling comet slams into the broken engine. Ceramite and adamantium meet metal and fire. The engine explodes outward, torn clean from the wing, but with the force directed away from the main body of the plane. The passengers inside feel a brutal jolt, but the craft does not tear apart. The armored figure uses the engine like a shield as he rides it down. He angles it, takes the worst of the blast against his own body. He hits the river that runs beside Metropolis like a dropped building. Water towers up in a wall. Windows shatter along the front row of riverside apartments. The shock knocks Jamie off his feet even from far away. Superman grunts and forces the plane back toward the runway. He lands it with care, sets it down so that the wheels scream but do not snap. He looks back at the river, at the pillar of steam, at the black shape rising out of it. Codex note: an Adeptus. Astartes can fall from orbit in full armor and live. The impact itself is a weapon. Marius walks out of the boiling water. His blue armor is cracked along one shoulder pad. The gold U of his chapter is blackened on one side. Steam hisses off every plate. His jump pack spits dying flames. He stands easily 3 meters tall. His helmet has a single red eye lens that glows like a coal. In his hands is a gun the size of a motorcycle, a bolter that hums with a steady threat. Citizens stare. Some try to run, but their bodies will not listen. They are pinned by simple fear. Above them all, the wound in the sky widens. From its edges, more things begin to push through. They are shapes at first: claws, horns, long teeth, drooling mouths full of too many tongues, flesh that does not hold one color for long. Demons of the warp spill into the skies of Metropolis. Superman sees them and knows at once. These are not like the monsters he has faced before. They move with a strange wrongness. Reality ripples around them like water around a ship's hull. He lifts off the ground again. "Justice League, we have hostiles," he says into his comm. "This isn't natural. Get here now." "On our way," Batman replies, short, clipped. "Finally," Hal adds, "something I can punch." The Flash is there first. A red streak smears across the street and becomes a young man in a bright suit, already lifting people out of the way. Jamie feels a rush of wind and finds himself on top of a bus, safe, 3 blocks away. He blinks. The speedster grins at him for half a second, then vanishes again. In the river, Marius raises his bolter and speaks. "The Emperor protects," he says softly inside his helm. "Through his will, I protect his own." He fires. Explosive shells roar up into the air. Each bolt round is a tiny rocket with a mass reactive charge. They tear through the first wave of demons, shredding limbs and corrupt flesh. Purple ichor rains down, burning tiny holes in concrete and metal. Where it lands on human skin, it sizzles. Marius sees a woman stumble as a drop hits her cheek. Her skin starts to blister in a spiral pattern. His hearts lurch. He slams his huge body through a parked car and reaches her in 2 strides. With one gauntlet, wipes the ichor away. The paint on his armor smokes. He murmurs a prayer and presses a small metal seal to her skin. The pain stops. The mark cools. "Flee, citizen," he says. His voice is a deep growl filtered through Vox speakers. His accent is strange, but the intent is clear. Wonder Woman drops from the sky like a thrown spear. Her bracelets flash as she deflects a demon's burning whip. She lands beside Marius, sword already swinging. "I do not know what you are," she says, eyes on the enemy, "but you fight the same foe." "Then we are allies for now," Marius replies. He swings his chainsword. Its teeth roar as they bite into a demon's neck. The creature shrieks and dissolves into a scream of light. Hal Jordan arrives above them, glowing bright within a green aura. He spreads his arms and a giant translucent shield forms over the nearest block. Demon fire splashes across it, sliding away. "Containment field up," he says. "Flash, keep people behind it. Bats, you seeing this?" In the watchtower and in the Batcave far below Gotham, Batman watches every feed at once. He zooms in on Marius. He studies the armor, the weapons, the way the man moves with drilled precision. "Alien," he mutters, "or human in alien armor." His computer hums. Data streams down the side of the screen. The suit registers metal mixes unknown on Earth. The power readings are off the scale, but strangely focused. 2 hearts detected. Multiple extra organs. Everything screams soldier. Either way, Batman says into the comm, the new player is lethal. Superman, keep an eye on him. Diana, do not let him out of your sight. Understood, Wonder Woman says. On the street, Flash becomes a red blur again, sweeping civilians behind Hal's shield. He zips past Marius, pauses for a heartbeat. Nice chainsaw sword, he says, breathless even at his speed. You're on our side, right? Marius looks down at the tiny man in red. He tilts his head. I am on the side of mankind, he answers. If you stand there as well, little one, then yes. Little one, Flash mutters, and then he is gone again. The fight deepens. Demons swarm from the sky. Some are small, like twisted dogs made of blades. Others are larger, towering over buildings, with wings of bone and fire. Superman hits the biggest one first. He slams into its chest, driving it back into the air. His fists blur. The creature's rib cage cracks. But every punch sends a wave of warp energy through his skin. He feels it like poison. Nausea spins under his ribs. This is not like punching a robot or an alien god. This is an idea made flesh, and the idea hates him. He grits his teeth and keeps hitting. Wonder Woman fights like she has stepped out of a myth. Her lasso glows as it binds one demon's claw, yanking it down to street level. Her sword moves in clean, deadly lines. Each cut severs more than flesh. It severs the warp's grip. Marius moves through the chaos like a walking tank. Bolter in one hand, Chainsword in the other. He advances. Every step is a drumbeat. Every breath is a prayer. An Adeptus Astartes charge, here, in the streets of Metropolis. He does not duck. He does not dodge. Enemy claws rake sparks from his armor. One demon tries to bite his head. He grabs its jaw in one gauntlet and rips it off with a crunch. Around him, humans watch with wide eyes from behind Hal's green wall. They see a giant in blue and gold fighting monsters with faith and fire. Codex note: the Adeptus Astartes are gene-forged super soldiers, built to be living weapons for a vast human empire. The wound in the sky shudders. For a moment, all the demons pause. Their heads tilt as if they hear a voice far away. Marius hears it too. It is not in his ears. It is in the back of his skull, where metal meets bone, where the warp has always brushed his mind. Brother, the voice whispers, so far from home, so close to truth. His grip tightens on his weapons. His hearts beat harder. Show yourself, traitor, he growls, but only the demons answer. A second wave begins. This time, the warp does not just throw monsters. It throws ideas. Purple light washes over a group of fleeing civilians. For a moment, their eyes turn solid black. Their mouths stretch into empty smiles. They turn back toward the demons, arms spread, as if greeting old friends. Marius sees it and feels cold. Corruption. Even in this new universe, the warp works the same. It twists the weak. He charges. He cannot shoot them. They are still human. He slams into them with his armored bulk instead, knocking them down, breaking a few bones but snapping them out of the trance. Stay down, he commands. He plants purity seals on their foreheads, tiny scraps of parchment with handwritten prayers. The Flash slows beside him, eyes wide. Hey, big guy, maybe not with the bone breaking, he says. They're civilians. The corruption would have taken them, Marius replies. It is better to live with a broken limb than die in a demon's mouth. Flash opens his mouth to argue, but then he sees a demon rush toward a child. He vanishes in a streak, grabs the kid, and is gone again. Point taken, he mutters. Above, Green Lantern strains. Batman, I can't hold this shield over the entire city, Hal says. There are too many entry points. That tear is multiplying. On the satellite feeds, Batman watches small rips open in other parts of the world. Tiny copies of the main wound. He sees one near Gotham, one near Coast City, one over open ocean. If this spreads unchecked, we lose the planet, he says. Clark, Diana, we need to close the primary breach. How? Superman asks, grunting as he tears another demon apart. This isn't like anything we've seen. Marius hears that. He looks up at the wound, at the pattern of its edges, at the way the demons move. He knows this. He has fought this storm all his life. The breach is anchored, he says over an open channel, his Vox voice cutting into Justice League comms. Something on the other side holds it open. Until that anchor is destroyed or weakened, the wound will not close. Who is this? Batman snaps. Brother-Captain Marius of the Ultramarines, the Space Marine says. Servant of the Emperor of Mankind. And this is the warp, a sea of souls and madness. You tear too deep, you drown. That doesn't sound great, Flash says. 0 out of 10. Would not swim. Focus, Batman says. Can you show us how to close it? Wonder Woman asks Marius between blows. There is no fear in her voice. Only iron will. Yes, Marius replies, but the anchor will fight back. It will send more than beasts. It will send will, heresy, temptation. Been there, Green Lantern mutters. Got the t-shirt. Fine. Tell me where to aim. Before Marius can answer, the tear pulses. A single sharp beam of warp energy shoots down, like a spear made of lightning and hate. It hits him in the chest. His armor flares. His jump pack explodes off his back in a shower of metal. He is flung through 3 buildings. He tastes blood in his rebreather. For a moment, his gene-hardened bones feel like glass. He drags himself back to his feet. His chest plate smokes. A new glyph burns there, carved by the warp energy. A jagged, 8-pointed star. No, he growls. He rips at it with his gauntlet, but the mark does not fade. It glows faintly. The voice in his head laughs. Brother, marked, bound. He shoves the sound away. He has fought off touch like this before. He can do it again. He takes a step forward, then another. Are you still with us? Superman asks, landing beside him. There is dust on his cape. A cut on his cheek glows with faint purple, then closes as his cells fight the poison. I stand, Marius says. I fight. The mark will not rule me. So we hit back, Superman replies. He looks up. His eyes flare bright. Together. They move as one. Superman rises first, punching through a wave of lesser demons, clearing a path. Wonder Woman follows, riding air currents, deflecting incoming blasts with her bracelets. Green Lantern creates a glowing platform that lifts Marius higher, letting the armored giant fire bolt rounds straight into the heart of the tear. Every shot shakes the breach. It flickers, shrinks. Flash races through the city, closing off minor wounds, pushing people out of hazard zones, tracing the pattern of the warp energy with his speed sense. Batman, he says into the comm. I think the big rip is linked to these little ones. If we weaken the center, they all waver. Then keep going, Batman answers. On a rooftop, the Dark Knight watches with narrowed eyes. He does not leap into the main fight yet. His job is to think, to plan. He records every move the Space Marine makes. He maps the pattern of power in that huge body. He notes the mark burned into the armor. He files it all away. New player, he says quietly. New rules. With a final combined push, the team weakens the breach. Superman's heat vision burns along its edges. Wonder Woman's divine blade slices through strands of warp energy. Marius throws a final bolt shell, this one charged with a whispered prayer to the Emperor. The breach does not close, but it shrinks to half its size. The demons scream and get pulled back. Most of the smaller tears across the globe flicker out. For now. Silence falls over the street. The river steams. Cars sit in broken lines. People cough, cry, or simply stare. Marius stands in the middle of it all, towering over everyone. His armor is scarred. His jump pack is gone. The burning mark still glows on his chest. Superman lands in front of him. Up close, Marius sees the Kryptonian's face clearly. He sees the steady eyes, the concern there, the will. "You saved a lot of people today," Superman says. "Thank you. I'm Superman." Marius inclines his head slightly. "I am Brother-Captain Marius," he repeats. "I am sworn to protect mankind. This world is full of humans, so I fight here." Wonder Woman steps up beside Clark. "I am Diana of Themyscira," she says. "Daughter of Hippolyta, princess, warrior. You fight with honor, Captain Marius." "Honor is the only shield that does not fail," he replies. The Flash stops a few meters back, hands on his knees as he catches his breath. "Hi," he says, waving. "Barry Allen, fastest man alive. Nice to meet the tallest man alive." Green Lantern floats down lazily behind them, dismissing his aura. "Hal Jordan," he says. "Green Lantern of Sector 2814. You're heavy, by the way. Pushing you on that energy platform was like moving a tank filled with tanks." Marius looks at each of them in turn. He files away their faces, their titles. He is a captain. It is his job to know his allies and threats. Sirens wail in the distance. Helicopters chop the air. Military trucks roll onto the ruined street. Soldiers in helmets and body armor pour out, weapons raised. At their head walks a hard-faced man in a general's uniform. His hair is grey at the temples. His eyes are sharp. "General Sam Lane, United States Army," he says, looking up at Marius without flinching. "You just helped save my city. For that, this country thanks you." He pauses. "But you also dropped out of a rip in the sky with enough firepower to level a block. So I need to know who you are and why you're here." Superman turns slightly. "General, Marius is not our enemy," he says. "He's from somewhere else. We need his help to understand that breach." "We also need to know if he caused it," another voice says. Batman steps out of the shadow of a broken building as if he has always been there. He walks toward them, cape brushing rubble. He looks up at Marius with eyes that miss nothing. "Batman," he says. "No first name on file." "Detective," Marius says quietly. He recognizes the type. Every army has someone who sees too much. The energy signature from that tear matches what's radiating off your armor. Batman continues. "The timing lines up with your arrival. So either you opened it, or something that brought you here did. Either way, you're connected." "Yes," Marius says. He does not lie. "The teleportarium that hurled me here followed the storm. It may have made the first cut, but something on the other side is holding it open. That thing is my enemy as much as yours." "Convenient," Batman says. His tone is soaked in doubt. General Lane glances between them. "This is above my pay grade," he mutters, but then straightens. "Still, until we understand the threat, that big guy is coming with us." "General," Superman starts. "No," Lane says, raising a hand. "This isn't a suggestion, son. We have protocols for extraterrestrial arrivals, for metahumans, for gods even. We don't have any for this." He gestures at Marius. Marius looks down at the mortal officer. His face is unreadable behind the helm. "I answer to the Emperor of mankind," he says. No other mortal law binds me. Yeah, see? That's kind of a problem, Hal mutters. Wonder Woman steps between Lane and Marius, palms open. General Lane, she says, voice firm but calm. This warrior has just bled beside us. He's not a prisoner, but he is a guest on this world. We can invite him somewhere safer, to talk. Batman nods once. Watchtower, he says. Off-planet, secure, neutral ground. We can keep an eye on him, and he can help us analyze that breach. Superman looks up at Marius. What do you say? He asks. We're not your enemies. We want to protect this world too. Marius is silent for a moment. Inside his helm, he feels the burned mark on his chest pulse. He remembers the voice, the laughter, the sense of a traitor waiting just out of sight. He also remembers the faces of the civilians he shielded, the look in Jamie's eyes as the boy was dragged to safety, the way these heroes fought, risking everything for people they did not know. His ethic motto is simple and old. Protect mankind, no matter the world, no matter the cost. Very well, he says. I will go to your watchtower. I will share what I know of the warp. But understand this. If your leaders seek to chain me, if they choose fear over reason, I will not submit. My duty is to mankind, not to flags. General Lane's jaw tightens, but he holds his tongue. Batman records every word. Wonder Woman gives a small, approving nod. There is honor in that answer, she says. Green Lantern sighs. Well, field trip to space it is, he says. Everyone grab your bags. The Flash zips over to Jamie, who still sits on the bus rooftop, shaking. You did great, kid, Barry says softly. Stay with the police when they get here, okay? And maybe don't stare directly at sky wounds next time. Jamie nods, eyes still wide. He looks once more at the giant in blue armor as Marius steps into a circle of green light made by Hal, with Superman and Wonder Woman beside him. The city around them is broken, but standing. Far above, the wound in the sky glows, smaller now, but steadier, like an eye that has decided to stay open. In the cold space between worlds, something watches through it. A figure in twisted power armor, black and gold, stands upon a deck of spiked metal. His helm bears horns. His chest carries the same burning mark that now scars Marius's armor. Brother, the Chaos Space Marine whispers, voice dripping triumph. You have crossed the veil. Now we will see which universe deserves to burn first. He raises a staff wrapped in screaming faces. The tear pulses in answer. On Earth, in the ruined street, Batman looks up once more. Up to now, he says quietly into his recorder, an unknown super soldier has fallen from a hole in reality, fought beside us to save Metropolis, and admitted that his arrival may have helped rip our sky open. Whatever comes next, this isn't just another Tuesday. The green light flares. Marius and the core of the Justice League vanish toward the watchtower, carrying with them war, questions, and the first thin thread of a coming clash between a Space Marine's grim duty and Earth's greatest heroes. The green light fades. Marius stands on metal. The air is cool and dry. Gravity is light. Ahead of him, a huge window looks out over a blue and white world. Earth hangs there in the dark. Clouds swirl across oceans. Continents glow with tiny city lights along their edges. The planet looks small and fragile and impossibly alive. Superman steps forward beside him. Welcome to the Watchtower, he says. Justice League headquarters. We keep it in orbit. Helps us see the big picture. Marius does not answer at once. He stares at the world. He has seen 1,000,000 worlds from orbit. Most have scars, bomb craters, burned continents, ship graveyards wrapped around them like rusted rings. This one is bright. Wounded, yes, but not gutted. Not yet. He feels the mark on his chest burn faintly. This is a young world, he says at last. It does not yet know how much it can lose. We know loss, Wonder Woman says quietly. She stands, with her hands clasped behind her back, eyes on the earth as well. My home is hidden now. The gods I grew up with are gone or changed. Flash zips back and forth across the room, testing how far he can run in low gravity before he bumps into something. Green Lantern floats upside down above them, boots pointed at the ceiling, ring hand resting behind his head. Batman is already at the main console. He speaks into the air. Watchtower, full scan on our guest. Non-invasive. Compared to all known metahuman and alien profiles. A smooth, calm voice replies from the speakers. Scanning Batman. Warning. Armor composition and biological markers do not match any existing database entries. Subject is human, but with extensive genetic and surgical modification. Marius turns his head slightly. Your machine is correct, he says. I am human, remade to be more, to be less weak, to stand where normal men break. Why? Flash asks, now leaning on a rail near him. His mask is pulled back. His hair is messy. His brown eyes are bright and a little sad. Why go that far? Because the enemies of mankind do not stop, Marius replies. Because there are things in the dark that chew through armies. We are the knives that cut back. Codex note. Astartes' children are taken from their families and remade into space marines through painful surgery, gene seed organs, and brutal training. General Lane appears on the main screen. He is in a war room now, not in the street. Maps line the walls behind him. Other officers watch from the edges of the shot. League, he says, nodding once. Captain Marius, we've got reports of smaller sky wounds over 3 other cities. Gotham, Coast City, and somewhere over the Atlantic. Most are flickering, but something is trying to push through. Daemonic probes, Marius says, testing your defenses, measuring your fear. Lane's jaw tightens. Name doesn't matter, he says. What matters is how we stop them. Batman brings up a rotating view of the main tear over Metropolis. It is smaller than before, but still ugly. Strands of purple energy twist out of it like roots. Our new friend says it's anchored from the other side, Batman says. So strategy. Option 1, we close it from here, if that's possible. Option 2, someone goes through, cuts the anchor, and tries to get back alive. Option 2, Marius says at once. His tone is simple, like he is saying, the sky is blue. Slow down, big guy, Hal says, flipping himself upright. We don't even know if we can survive on the other side, or if there is air, or, physics. There is war, Marius says. That is all we need to know. Superman raises a hand. Before we send anyone into another reality, we need intel, he says. Captain, tell us more about this warp. Marius looks around the room. He sees gods, aliens, and men who dress as shadows. He sees both strength and softness. The warp is a sea of souls, he says. It is where thoughts, dreams, and rage go when they leave your minds. It is also where the dead go, in a way. It touches all of real space. Ships of my Imperium sail through it to cross the stars. He lifts one armored hand, fingers curling as if grasping an invisible current. But it is not empty, he continues. It is full of predators made from hate and hunger. They are demons. To travel the warp, you must have faith, discipline, and shields of mind and metal. If those fail, you are torn apart, body and soul. Flash swallows. So we are dealing with a magic ocean made of bad thoughts, full of monsters, leaking into our sky, he says. Cool, no note. That's just great. How did you survive in it? Wonder Woman asks. Your teleport device. It must have moved you through that sea. The teleportarium tore a straight line, Marius says. Blessed by the Emperor, shielded by warding runes. But the storm I followed was stronger than we expected. It grabbed me, dragged me along its path. When I emerged, I was here. And you think some other ship, or some other thing, is holding that storm open, Batman says. He taps a schematic of the tear, using it like a gate. Yes, Marius says, likely a warship of chaos, a corrupted mirror of my own kind, a traitor. The memory of the horned helm in the void rises in his mind. His fists clench. There is your anchor, he says, a champion who has given his soul to the warp. He will want to pour demons into your world until it looks like mine. Then we can't just play defense, Superman says. We need a first win, something that pushes this back and shows people they aren't helpless. Batman nods slowly. First victory matters, he says. Fear spreads faster than infection. If the world sees demons rampaging and heroes losing, panic will do half the enemy's work. So we hit them where they're trying to grow stronger, Hal says. He brings up a map with green light. There's a cluster of reports around Coast City. Small tears, weird energy, people seeing things that aren't there. My city, he adds quietly. His ring glows a bit brighter. We go there, Superman says. Contain the threat, save who we can, learn how these things move. We also test our new ally, Batman says. He doesn't hide it. If he is what he says he is, this is the best chance to see how he acts in the field when we're not watching his every move. You are watching my every move now, Marius says. It is not a question. Yes, Batman replies. Good, Marius says. Only fools look away in war. Coast City is bright and open, wide streets, palm trees, a long coastline. The sun hangs low, turning the water gold. And then the sky boils. 3 tears open at once. They look like bruises forming in the air. Dark stains that swell and split. Demons pour out, smaller than the ones in Metropolis but faster. Winged things with blades for feathers. Dog-like beasts with too many eyes. People scream and run. A pair of teenagers on skateboards look up, frozen. A woman drops her grocery bags, oranges rolling away. Cars crash into each other, horns blaring. Green light flashes overhead. Hal Jordan drops into the street like a falling star. His ring fills the air with a giant curved barrier, catching falling debris and redirecting it into a safe pile. He points and a huge glowing hand appears, gently plucking a bus out of the path of a crashing truck. Everyone move to the shelters, he shouts. Follow the signs, stay behind the green. Superman streaks past him, a blue and red line that smashes into the first cluster of flying demons. They pop like rotten fruit under a hammer. Wonder Woman lands on a rooftop, sword raised, scanning for the biggest threat. The flash becomes red lightning through the streets, pulling people out from under falling glass. Marius appears in a bloom of green light as Hal's ring teleports him down. He hits the asphalt with a crack that sends small chips flying. Children stare at him with round eyes. He raises his bolter. Get to cover, he says. His voice turns every head. Stay behind the glowing shields. I will hold the line. One small girl, maybe 6 years old, clutches a stuffed animal and whispers, "Are you a robot?" "No," he says. "I am a space marine." Then he moves forward. The demons here are different than in Metropolis. More shaped. They flicker in and out of sight. Sometimes they look like twisted birds. Sometimes like human faces stretched across spider bodies. Sometimes they mirror the people they are attacking, matching their clothes and smiles, but with empty eyes. Marius fires in controlled bursts. Each bolt shell tracks a warp presence. When the demons shift shape, the shells still find them, guided by tiny machine spirits and faith. The Justice League fights beside him, each in their own style. Flash sees a group of people frozen in place as a demon whispers lies into their ears, promising safety if they just stop moving. Barry taps each one on the shoulder at high speed, scooping them up and setting them behind Hal's barrier. He slaps the demon in the face as he passes. It spins 3 times and vanishes with a screech. Wonder Woman kicks a demon off a bridge. Her shield glints as she blocks a claw swipe. Then she counters with a clean thrust. Her blade slices a creature's head in 2. Purple fire spills out and turns to smoke. Superman hears a child crying in the rubble. He lifts a whole collapsed storefront, muscles straining only a little, and pulls out a family huddled underneath. Their faces are pale with dust and fear. He smiles softly, just for them. "You're safe now," he says. "Get to the green shield. Go." They run. Marius sees a group of demons circle a hospital. They wrap the building in shimmering chains of warp energy. Windows crack. People inside begin to cough as the air turns thin. He is too far to reach it in time. "Lantern," he barks. "Shield that building now." Hal looks, swears, and throws his will at it. A green shell snaps around the hospital, pushing the warp chains outward. The demons hiss and claw at it, but the light holds. "They're focusing on places with lots of fear and pain," Batman says in Hal's ear. He watches from the Batwing, high above, unseen by most. Hospitals, crowded streets, busy malls, they feed on the reaction. "It's a fear storm," Flash pants between runs. "Great. They're social media, but worse." "Focus, Barry," Batman says. Marius pushes forward. He reaches a plaza where the air is thick with warp light. In the center, a cluster of demons circle a fountain. In the water, a tear is forming, small but growing fast. He feels the mark on his chest flare hotter. He knows this trick. "They are making a new gate," he says into the shared channel. "A local breach. If it opens, more will come. We must close it now, even if..." He stops. The demons around the fountain are using hosts. Their bodies are wrapped around human shapes. Civilians stand in the water, waist deep, eyes blank, mouths open. Warp energy pours out of them like steam. "Their souls are being used as anchors," Marius says. "How do we free them?" Superman asks. Marius is silent for a heartbeat. "In my war," he says, "we do not. We give them a quick death so their souls slip from the demon's grasp. We save the many by ending the few." Superman lands beside him with a thump. He stares at the people in the fountain. They are old and young. A woman in a nurse's uniform. A man in a suit, tie still on. A teenage boy with headphones still around his neck. "We are not doing that," Superman says. His voice is iron. "If we let them live like this, the breach will open," Marius replies. "You will lose this city, maybe more." "We find another way," Wonder Woman says. She lands on the other side of the fountain, water splashing her boots. "I will not cut down helpless people, not when I can still swing my sword at their captors." "There may not be time," Marius warns. Hal hovers above, sweat beading on his brow. "My ring can contain the breach for a bit," he says. "Not forever. It's like trying to hold a screaming sun in a jar." Flash appears, vibrating with urgency. "We could get them out, right?" he says. "I could run in, grab each one, move them somewhere safe before the blast hits. I've done crazier with lightning and time travel." "Removing them breaks the ritual," Marius says slowly. It might, or the warp might backlash and tear them apart, body and soul. So either we kill them fast or we risk killing them. Weird, Flash says. Awesome menu. You got any other specials, big guy? Batman's voice cuts through their noise. Data first, he says. Captain, can you open a small hole in your armor where that mark is? I want to see how it reacts if we change the configuration of the ritual. Marius hesitates. The suggestion is bold. It is also clever. Yes, he says. He reaches up and unseals one locking ring on his breastplate. Warp light escapes in a thin line from the burn mark, then flickers as his gene seed organs fight back. The fountain's tear wavers. The demons shriek. Their grip on the civilians loosens. Batman's fingers fly across the console in the Batwing. I'm feeding your armor's energy pattern into a counter frequency through the Watchtower's satellite grid, he says. Hal, sync your ring with my signal. We're going to push against the tear instead of cutting it directly. Hal grits his teeth. Copy that, he says. Come on, you ugly thing. Let's see how you like mixed signals. Green light shifts in tone. It goes from bright emerald to a strange pale green, humming at the same strange pitch as the warp mark on Marius's chest, but opposite in direction. The tear shudders. The demons around the fountain seize up, bodies twitching. The people inside the water gasp, their eyes clear for a second. Flash does not wait. He moves. To him, the world slows to a crawl. Warp sparks hang in the air like fireflies. Water droplets hover mid-splash. The civilians' chests rise and fall in slow, shallow breaths. He dashes into the fountain. He grabs the nurse first, lifts her, zips her out to the edge of the plaza, sets her down behind a pillar. Back to the fountain. The man with the tie, the teenager with headphones, in and out, in and out. Each time, he feels static crawling along his skin, trying to claw inside. Each time, he runs faster. On his last run, as he grabs the final victim, a surge of warp energy lashes out. It hits him. Pain crawls up his arm. He stumbles, but he does not stop. He dumps the last person behind cover and collapses to his knees. Barry, Superman shouts. I'm fine, Flash says, breathing hard. Just got a little demon in my Wi-Fi. I'll walk it off. The fountain's tear shrinks. With no human anchors, the demons lose their purchase. They howl and dissolve into smoke. The plaza is left cracked and wet and quiet. First victory. People peek out from behind walls and cars. Some cheer, some cry. Some just stare at the heroes standing in the wreckage. Marius looks at the rescued civilians. They are shaken. Some sob. One vomits. All are alive. You risk more lives than I would have, he says. His voice is not mocking. It is almost curious. But you saved them. That's the job, Superman says. We don't pick and choose who gets to live based on math. Sometimes you must, Marius replies. If a world is lost, we burn it. Billions die so trillions live elsewhere. We call it Exterminatus. The word hangs in the air. Wonder Woman's eyes flash. You speak of burning worlds as if you are choosing which field to plow, she says. My people know war. We have fought beasts and gods. But we do not forget that every life is a story. We do not erase them lightly. Exterminatus is never light, Marius says. It is the heaviest choice. It is made when there is no other way, when the warp has already eaten the world's soul. Not here, Superman says. Not on this earth. We don't carve people into numbers on a war table. We find another way, or we die trying. Marius looks at him. He sees stubborn hope. It feels strange, like looking at a child who has never seen a battlefield. And if your mercy lets the enemy spread, he asks, If your refusal to make hard choices means demons flood every sky on this world, then we fight harder, Superman says. His jaw is set. We don't become monsters to beat monsters. Justice is not only mercy, Wonder Woman adds. It is also restraint, knowing when not to strike. Hal floats down, ring dimming, as the last of the green constructs fade. I've been in wars, he says, seen planets burn. Fear makes people do terrible things. Triumph makes them think they're gods. If we start thinking Exterminatus is on the table, we've already lost something important. Flash stands up slowly, flexing his fingers. You saw what I did, he says to Marius. Yeah, it hurt. Yeah, it could have gone bad. But those people will go home tonight. They will hug someone. They will tell stories. That matters too. Marius listens. His heart beats slow and heavy. In my Imperium, such talk would mark you as weak, he says at last. Soft, perhaps even traitors. In your Imperium, do your people laugh freely? Wonder Woman asks. Do they sleep without fear? Do children grow up without being taken and cut apart to become soldiers? Marius does not answer. He thinks of hive worlds where people live in the dark their whole lives, of tithes, of black ships that carry psychers away to serve and die, of children like he once was, dragged to a fortress and broken to be remade. Our way is not soft, Batman says over the comm. His bat wing circles like a silent bird. It's harder in some ways. Killing is easy when you've trained for it. Saving people who are already half lost takes more skill, more risk. You gamble with many lives, Marius says. Yes, Batman replies. That's what justice is. We gamble on people being worth the pain. There is no clear winner in the debate. It hangs there, sharp and bright and unresolved. Codex note. The Imperium teaches that mercy can lead to heresy. The Justice League believes that mercy is where justice begins. Hours later, the War Council reconvenes. They meet again in the Watchtower. This time, the room is darker. Screens show news feeds from around the world. Images of demons, of heroes, of panicked crowds, of coast cities' damaged plaza. People online argue whether the giant in blue armor is a hero or a new threat. Marius stands near the window again. He prefers solid walls behind him, but there is none here. Space yawns outside. It feels like a battlefield, in its own way. At the central table, holograms of world leaders appear. General Lane is there. So is a woman in a sharp suit with cold eyes, introduced only as Amanda Waller. Other faces speak for other nations. Superman explains the day's events in simple terms. Warp, demons, tears in the sky, first victory. We're containing the breaches for now, he says. But this isn't over. If that anchor on the other side pushes harder, we could see larger invasions. Which is why we need every advantage, Waller says, eyes on Marius. Captain, your technology alone could shift the balance of power. Your armor, your gene enhancements. If we can study you, we can mass produce better soldiers. We can be ready. Marius turns to face her image. My gene seed is not a toy, he says. It is a holy relic, taken from the Emperor's own sons. It is bound to my chapter. To give it to strangers would be heresy. Here's the problem, Waller replies. In this world, we don't answer to your Emperor. We answer to the people we're sworn to protect. If sharing your text saves lives, holding it back looks a lot like treason. Wonder Woman's eyes narrow. This man is not your property, she says. He is not a lab. Batman watches silently. His gaze flicks between Marius and Waller. He knows power when he sees it, in both armor and words. We're wasting time, General Lane cuts in. While we argue about samples and sovereignty, More breaches form. We need a clear chain of command. We need to know who calls the shots if this becomes an invasion. The League defends the planet, Superman says. We've faced threats like this before. This isn't like anything you've seen, Waller says. The rules are changing. New physics, new gods. We need contingency plans, and the League doesn't always share well. Oh, that's rich, Hal mutters under his breath. Marius speaks. In my Imperium, command is clear, he says. Orders come from the High Lords, from the chapter masters, from the Inquisition. The chain is iron. We obey or we die. And does that always work? Flash asks. His tone is softer now. Do your leaders always choose well? Always protect the people? Marius thinks of worlds burned because someone panicked, of leaders who cared more for their own power than the lives under their rule, of purges carried out on whispers. No, he says. Sometimes the chain is used to choke. Here we argue, Batman says. Messy, but it stops any one person from deciding to burn the world. Unless that person can move planets, Waller says dryly. Her eyes flick to Superman. He does not flinch. I've chosen this world every time, he says, and I always will. Until you don't, Waller replies. The tension in the room rises. Marius feels it like static on his armor. This war needs unity, he says, not 1,000 small voices. It needs conscience, Wonder Woman answers, not blind obedience. They are both right. They are both wrong. The truth sits somewhere between, hard to reach. Batman ends the argument before it burns out of control. Enough, he says. Here are the facts. The breaches are getting smarter. He brings up new images. A ship at sea, reporting phantom islands. A city street where people all saw the same nightmare at the same moment. A prison where the inmates began chanting the same unknown word in perfect sync. The warp is learning our patterns, Batman says. It's not just throwing monsters anymore. It's attacking minds, subverting structures. The enemy on the other side is adjusting, Marius agrees. He's probing for weak spots, looking for a way to break your will before he breaks your bodies. This is our smarter foe, Batman says. Not just demons, but the strategists behind them. Whoever is holding that anchor is watching us, judging us. How can he hurt you? Flash asks Marius. You're a walking tank. We saw your armor eat a warp blast and keep going. Armor does not stop whispers, Marius says quietly. The warp speaks to what you fear, to what you want. It offers power or peace, or a faster way. It tempts you to bend your oath just once to save more people, and then you fall. He can twist your faith, Wonder Woman says. She understands this. Her gods have been tested by such games. Yes, Marius replies. If I start to believe that only I know what is right, that only my way can save mankind, then the warp will use that pride like a blade. Batman folds his arms. So his counter to you is in your head, he says. He doesn't need to beat your armor if he can turn your mission into something cruel enough that even you can't live with it. Marius nods once. That is how you break a space marine, he says. Not by snapping bone, but by snapping purpose. Power scaling interlude. In short, Batman says, looking around the table. Our unseen enemy is a general who fights with ideas. He can turn fear, hope, and faith into weapons. He can push Captain Marius to make choices that look logical on a battlefield, but look monstrous to us. If he does that, we'll have to stop the captain as well as the demons. And if we fail, we lose public trust, and the warp gets a foothold in every angry, scared mind on Earth. Silence settles. They all feel the weight of that. Then we anchor him here, Wonder Woman says, nodding toward Marius. Not with chains, but with oaths, with friendship, with watch steps. Friendship is a liability in my world, Marius says. It gives the enemy hostages. In ours, it keeps us from losing ourselves, Superman says. Batman files that line away. He may need it later. The council breaks. World leaders sign off, some more willing than others to trust a giant from another universe. Waller's eyes stay cold. Lanes stay wary. The core league stays in the room. They speak more quietly now. We need to track that mark on your armor, Batman says. He walks up to Marius, unafraid. I've seen enough cursed artifacts to know a brand when I see one. It burns, Marius admits. More when the warp is near. It may be a beacon, a chain. Then we cut it, Hal says. You cannot simply blast it off, Marius says. It is not paint. It is in the metal, in the flesh beneath. Magic then, Wonder Woman says. Or something like it. We may have allies for that. Superman nods. Zatanna, Dr. Fate, Raven, he says. We can bring them in. If anyone knows how to deal with a cursed symbol, it's our magic users. Marius shifts his weight. We must be careful, he warns. The warp prizes psychers, those who touch the unseen. They are bright lights in the dark, and demons flock to light. Same story, different names, Flash says. We call it magic, you call it warp. Either way, I hate it. Batman's console beeps. New breach, he says. Gotham. But this one is different. No demons yet. Just a growing zone where people stop caring. What do you mean, stop caring? Hal asks. Reports of crowds going quiet, Batman replies. Riots just ending. People sitting down in the street, staring at nothing. Heart rates dropping. Brain activity flattening. Not dead. Not alive in any real sense. Marius feels a chill. That is no simple demon, he says. That is a concept given teeth. A weapon that says, why fight? It does not matter. Anti-hope, Superman says softly. Null zone, Batman says. He zooms in on heat maps. Emotional vacuum. If that spreads in Gotham, we'll have millions of people too numb to resist anything that comes next. Then we move, Wonder Woman says. She straps her shield more firmly on her arm. Gotham is your city, Batman. We will not let it fall. Marius checks his weapons. His bolter's ammo readout glows low. He has taken more shells from the Watchtower's material stores, but it feels thin. His chainsword's teeth have been cleaned and oiled, but the motor is not what it was before the warp blast. He is tired. He will not admit it, but his gene-forged body knows. Captain, Superman says, placing a hand lightly on Marius's shoulder. You don't have to go into every fight. You just fell from the sky, fought in 2 cities, and took a magical hit to the chest. You can rest. I have known campaigns that last for years without rest, Marius replies. This is nothing. And that mark on my chest is not a wound. It is a threat. I must meet it head on. Batman watches the hand on the armor. The gesture matters. Fine, he says. But in Gotham, we do things my way. We fight in the dark. We use fear against the enemy, not against the people. Marius nods once. I will follow your lead, detective, he says. For now. They move. Green Lantern's ring sweeps them across the planet. The stars blur. The earth spins below. Gotham waits. So does the smarter foe, spreading a fog of apathy through its streets, testing whether it can steal the one thing that both a Space Marine and the Justice League need most, the will to fight at all. Gotham is not Coast City. In Coast City, the sun had still shone. People screamed, but the air had been bright. Hope had felt close. Here the clouds sit low and heavy. Rain mixes with smoke. The buildings lean in over narrow streets, like they are listening. Up to now, the Justice League and Marius have fought open breaches in Metropolis and Coast City and won their first real victory. Now they walk into a different kind of attack. On a rooftop near the edge of the strange new zone, Batman lays out the map. A hollow projector sits on the wet concrete. Its light makes ghost lines over his cowl. The others stand in a loose circle. Marius towers above them, a blue wall of armor in the rain. The map shows Gotham's heart, blocks of grey, dark rivers, a few bright points, one dead center, a slowly growing circle of deep purple. This is the null zone, Batman says. Started as a few city blocks. Now it's at 2 miles across and expanding. Any zombies? Flash asks, looking down. Shambling, moaning, brains. No, Batman says. Worse. They just stop. He taps a control. New icons appear on the map. People inside the zone don't riot, don't run, don't fight, he explains. They sit down, in the street, at their desks, on park benches. They stop talking. They stop eating. They stop reacting to pain. Hospitals are full of people whose bodies are fine, but whose brains look like they're half asleep. Apathy as a weapon, Wonder Woman says. Her voice is tight. This is vile. Hal folds his arms. My ring runs on willpower, he says. You're telling me the enemy has made a bomb out of I don't care. Yes, Batman says, and it's going off slowly. Superman studies the purple circle. What's the goal? He asks. If you wanted to take Gotham, there are easier ways than making everyone numb. Marius answers. Demons feed on feelings, he says. Fear, pain, lust, hope twisted to pride. But chaos also loves despair. A world that is given up is easy to reshape. He points a gauntlet at the map. This null zone is a farm, he says. Your enemy is draining will from millions, storing it. When he has enough, he will push, and this city will crack open. Then the real invasion comes. Flash swallows. Standard counters, Batman asks. Can we just punch it until it stops? No, Marius says. You cannot punch an idea. If you charge in without shields, you lose the will to swing after a few steps. Your Green Lantern's ring may dim. Your speedster may slow. Even your Kryptonian may doubt. Superman frowns. You think this field can affect me? He asks. Yes, Marius says simply. It speaks to the part of you that wonders if you can save everyone. To the fear that all your strength is not enough. It tells you to stop trying, to sit, to let the dark win quietly. There is a moment of silence. Batman breaks it. We go in with anchors, he says. Lines back to the watchtower. Physical tethers, not just radio. If we start to lose ourselves, someone outside pulls us out. Hal nods. I can rig energy tethers, he says. 4 lines, 1 to each of you. Captain Heavy Metal here probably doesn't need one. He's basically a walking anchor. Marius shakes his head. I am not immune, he says. This mark on my chest is a leash. The Chaos Lord on the other side can tug it. He can whisper through it. I should take 2 anchors. Batman looks at the glowing scar under the ceramite plate. We don't know what happens if we tie our lines to you, he says. If that brand goes bad mid-mission, it could drag all of us into the warp with you. Then we tie them to each other, Wonder Woman says. A circle. No one walks alone. She looks at Marius. You will not carry this mark alone either, she adds. He does not have words for that. So he nods. Batman hands out small, flat devices, like dull coins. Emergency jolters, he says, designed to shock someone out of mind control or fear toxin. If you feel yourself slipping, press it to your neck. Pain is a good anchor. I've tested them. On yourself? Flash asks. Yes, Batman says. Of course he has. Marius hooks one to a chain on his belt. Pain is a friend, he says. It reminds you that you are still alive. Codex note. Space Marines are trained to use pain as focus. Their nerve systems are hardened, not dulled. They enter the null zone from four sides. Superman from above cutting through cloud. Wonder Woman along a main street, boots splashing through puddles. Flash as a red streak down alleyways. Batman in the shadows, moving from fire escape to fire escape. Marius walks straight up a wide avenue. The closer they come, the quieter Gotham gets. At first, it is normal city noise. Cars, sirens, people yelling. Some distant automatic gunfire in the bad parts of town. Then the lines blur. A line of traffic stands still all at once. Engines idle. Hands rest on steering wheels. Eyes stare ahead. On a sidewalk, a man with a bleeding arm sits on the wet ground. He does not press his wound. He does not call for help. He just watches the rain. Flash stops next to him. "Hey buddy," Barry says. "Ambulance is on the way. You need a hospital." The man blinks slowly. "It doesn't matter," he says in a flat voice. "It's too late." Flash touches his jolter to the man's neck. The man gasps. His eyes focus. He grabs his arm. "It hurts," he says. Then, with sudden fear, "I don't want to die." "Good," Flash says. "Hold that thought. Hang in there." He zips away. Superman lands in a square where dozens of people sit on benches in the rain, soaking wet. None have umbrellas. Water runs down their faces like they do not feel it. "Everyone," he calls, voice warm but firm. "Listen to me. You are not alone. Stand up. We're here to help." A few heads turn vaguely. Most do not move. He walks from person to person, lifting them gently, speaking their names if he can read them from ID badges. Some blink back to full awareness. A few smile. Most stay numb. The field tugs at him. It feels like a hand on his chest, pushing him down, whispering, "They will sit again when you leave. Why bother?" He presses his jolter to his neck. Electric pain snaps through him. He takes a sharp breath and keeps moving. Wonder Woman finds a gang mid-robbery. They are in a jewelry store, bags half full, guns hanging limp in their hands. They stare at the diamonds like they have forgotten why they came. "It all sparkles," one mutters. "Then it breaks. Then we die. What is the point?" Diana strides through the smashed door. "The point is what you do before that," she says. "To fight, to love, to stand for others. Drop the guns." They drop them. One starts to raise his hands, but then his shoulders slump. He kneels instead, looking at the floor. "I'm so tired," he whispers. She frowns and lifts him up by his jacket. "You can rest later," she says, shaking him once. "Now you live." She feels a slow, cold weight at the edge of her thoughts. "Oh, idea. You have tried so long, it never ends. Why keep going?" She shoves it away. Her gods fell. Her island hid, but she is still here. She presses her jolter to her neck and pushes on. Above the city, green lanterns' constructs flicker. "Batman, this place sucks the will right out of the air," Hal says, jaw tight. "I can still fly. I can still shield. But big moves cost more. Feels like dragging a rock uphill." "Stay high. Conserve power," Batman replies. "I need you to lift civilians out if they collapse in dangerous spots." "What about you, Bats?" Hal asks. "You feeling the emo wave?" "Gotham was like this before the warp," Batman says. "My city has breathed despair for years. This is worse, but not new. I am adapted." On his own path, Marius walks deeper into the zone. It hits him slower. His mind is not wired like a normal man's. His gene seed organs, his training, his constant war, all give him a different base. But even he feels it. Memories rise. A world burned because he was late by one day. A squadmate dying in his arms, eyes full of pain. An order from high command to purge a city where only a few had fallen to chaos. He sees those faces again. The field whispers, "You did all that. You killed so many. And the galaxy is still on fire. Why keep going?" For a heartbeat, his steps slow. Then he speaks, out loud. "My duty is my purpose," he says. "I am the Emperor's sword. I do not judge my own worth. He judges. I obey." He does not use the jolter. He recites a litany instead. "From the fires of betrayal unto the blood of vengeance, we bring the Emperor's wrath," he murmurs. His voice grows louder with each word. The Emperor protects. He keeps walking. The rain thickens. The purple circle on Batman's map shrinks as the team wakes people up at the edges. But at the center, near Gotham's oldest district, the field grows denser. Old brick, stone churches, narrow alleys, gargoyles stain the sky. They all converge on one spot, an abandoned cathedral. It was once holy. Now, warp light leaks from the windows like slow smoke. The League gathers at the foot of the steps. "This is it," Batman says. "Readings say the null effect is strongest inside." "The anchor's local node," Marius says. He feels the mark on his chest pulse like a second heart. Superman looks at the building. "Last chance to back out," he says quietly. Marius shakes his head. "I was made for halls like this," he says. "Dark, full of whispers, full of things that need killing." They push the heavy doors open. The air inside tastes like dust and old incense. Pews lie broken. Stained glass windows show saints with blank eyes. The altar is cracked. In the center of the main aisle, a circle of warp energy spins, low to the ground, like a dark whirlpool. Shadows move in it. And beyond it, at the far end of the hall, just before the shattered altar, stands a figure in power armor, black and gold, taller than a man, but slightly shorter than Marius. Horned helm, a cape lined with small dangling skulls. In his hand, a long blade that seems to eat the light around it. "Brother," the Chaos Space Marine says. His voice echoes off the stone. Marius knows him, not by face but by feel. "Traitor," he replies. The others fan out. Diana moves to the left, shield up. Hal takes to the air, ring humming. Flash sticks to the flank, ready to move. Superman steps beside Marius. Batman stays in the shadows near a pillar, scanning everything. "I am Lord Karoth," the Chaos Space Marine says. "Champion of Chaos Undivided, Herald of the Neverborn. You are far from home, Marius of the Ultramarines." "You should not speak my name with your corrupt tongue," Marius growls. The mark on his chest burns hotter. Karoth's armor carries the same symbol, but carved deeper. 8-pointed star. Warp light drips from it. "You followed the storm," Karoth says. "You chased me here. I was hoping you would. This world is soft. Its heroes are bound by childish rules. No killing, no sacrifice. They think they can win without pain." He gestures with his demon blade at the Justice League. "They are children playing at war," he says. "But you, brother, you know the truth. You have ordered Exterminatus. You have killed to save many. You understand cost." Marius does not deny it. He has signed such orders. He remembers the quill in his giant hand. "Your anchor will be cut," he says. "This null field will fall. You will be driven back into the warp." Karoth laughs. "Look around you," he says. They do. Up in the balconies, in the choir stalls, on the floor near the walls, hundreds of people sit or stand, motionless. Typical Gotham faces. A homeless man, a bank clerk, an old woman in a shawl, a teen with a band t-shirt. Their eyes are blank black. Warp strands coil from them into the spinning circle. Their will feeds my blade, Keroth says. Their apathy is my shield. If you strike me, you strike them. Flash whispers, "Oh no." Superman clenches his fists. "We can free them," he says. "We've done it before." "You are slower than you think," Keroth replies. "The zone is breaking you. Every thought is mud. Every step is lead." Marius steps forward. He feels the drag. His boots sound heavy on the stone. His arms feel like they each carry an extra tank. But he moves. "This ends, traitor," he says. Keroth points his sword at him. "It ends with a choice," he says. "Yours." The duel begins. Marius charges. Chainsword revs, teeth roaring. Bolter swings up, then he fires. Keroth steps sideways. The demon blade flicks. 3 bolt shells spin off into warped space, their machine spirits confused. They detonate in the air, showering purple sparks. Marius closes the distance. He swings. Keroth meets Chainsword with demon steel. The clash rings through the cathedral. Warp energy spits. Stone cracks. The people seated along the walls do not flinch. "You have grown stronger," Keroth says, pushing. "Even in this soft world, you found war fast." "This world did not bring war," Marius grunts. "You did, as always." Outside the main aisle, the League moves. Hal forms a dome over some of the catatonic people, shielding them from stray blasts. Flash darts between them, pressing jolters to necks, trying to wake them. Wonder Woman faces lesser shadow shapes that rise from the spinning circle, cutting them down before they can reach the heroes. Batman throws small, sharp devices at anchor points around the circle. They stick to the stone with a hiss. "Charge cutters in place," he says softly into the comm. "On my signal, they'll break the ritual. We may have a window to grab hostages." Superman splits his attention. He wants to help in the duel. He also knows that if he hits Keroth full force, the backlash might kill the people feeding the circle. So he does what he can do best. He catches. He stands ready to intercept any wild strike that might hit a civilian. In the center, the duel grows harsher. Keroth moves with cruel grace, armor not slowing him. His sword is wrong. Wherever its edge passes, the air tears. It does not just cut stone, it shaves meaning. It whispers to Marius as it swings past his helm. "You have failed," it says in 1,000 voices. "You will always fail." He feels those words trying to lodge in his mind. He answers with harder words. "By bolter and blade, by faith and fury," he recites, blocking another strike. "The enemies of mankind shall be cleansed." Chainsword teeth bite into Keroth's pauldron. Sparks and warp fire fly. Dark ichor spills from the wound. The Chaos Marine laughs, delighted. "Good," Keroth says. "Feel it. War, purpose. Not these silly debates about mercy and restraint." He kicks. The blow is like a truck hitting a wall. Marius flies backward, slamming into a pillar. Stone cracks. He rises at once. His armor holds, but internal alarms blink. Secondary heart overclocked. Lungs at increased strain. The mark on his chest glows brighter. Keroth stalks forward. "You are wasted on that dying Imperium," he says. "You follow decrees written by shriveled men who have never seen a battlefield. You burn worlds because of their fear. Join me. Serve chaos with eyes open. You can still protect mankind. You can choose which worlds die." "You serve only yourself," Marius snarls, "and the things that feed on our souls." He lunges, Chainsword high. Keroth parries and twists, letting the demon blade graze Marius's side. It feels like being stabbed with ice made of memory. The sword slides between armor plates without touching metal. It sinks into the gap, not into flesh, but into something behind it. Marius stiffens. He sees all at once 100 battlefield choices. Let the left flank die to save the right. Order a desperate charge to cover an evac. Burn a village to stop a plague. Each replay twists, sliding blame onto him. You killed them, the blade whispers in his mind. Not the warp, not the enemy. You, your choices. He falls to one knee. Pain bursts behind his eyes. Outside, Superman sees the blow. He moves faster than thought, but the null field drags at his will, so he is just a hair too slow. Keroth pushes the blade deeper. From the outside, it looks like a shallow cut along the seam of Marius's armor. From the inside, it feels like nails scratching his gene seed. His second heart stutters. His primary lung spasms. Codex note. Demon. Weapons can cut soul and spirit as easily as flesh. Such wounds do not always bleed, but they leave lasting scars on mind and gene seed alike. Keroth leans close, helm almost touching Marius's. If you keep obeying your Imperium, this world will burn, he whispers. These heroes will die in chains, not in glory. Their leaders will panic. They will turn against you. They will try to cage you. I offer you another road. He lifts his free hand and gestures. A vision unfolds. Not outside, but inside Marius's mind. He sees Gotham under his rule. A fortress city, walls high, guns ready, citizens in grey uniforms marching in order. Demons held at bay by vast cannons and holy banners. He sees the Justice League as commanders under him. Superman in a blue and gold officer's coat, leading planetary defenses. Wonder Woman as a crusade marshal. Green Lantern Corps as a fleet of void ships. The Flash as a lightning courier between battlefronts. Batman as master of whispers, breaking traitors in dark cells. No demons in the streets, Keroth whispers. No null fields, because you make the hard calls early. You purge any hint of warp corruption. You order Exterminatus before a world is lost. You save more in the long run. Marius's ethic motto echoes. Protect mankind, no matter the world, no matter the cost. Chaos will give you the freedom to do that without apology, Keroth says. It does not pretend to be kind. It only asks that you accept the truth. War is all there is. There is no peace, only war. So fight it on your own terms. The vision shifts. He sees an orbital platform above Gotham. Not the watchtower, something bigger. Brass and steel and skulls. Guns the size of skyscrapers. He sees himself give the order. Exterminatus. Gotham burns in silent fire, cleansing warp taint. The demons die. Billions die. But the warp storm closes. The rest of Earth lives. This is how you win, Keroth says. One city for one world. One world for 10 systems. You are already willing to pay such prices. All I ask is that you stop lying to yourself about it. Marius's breathing slows. Part of him is tempted. This is not a temptation of pleasure or comfort. It is deeper. It is the temptation to cut through doubt, to never again wake up wondering if he did enough, to have a clear rule. If corruption rises, burn it at once. He could protect more lives with fewer battles. He could end wars before they begin. He could make his motto pure again. Protect mankind, no matter the world, no matter the cost. The Daemon blade hums with approval. Outside his mind, his armor's eyes dim. Superman sees this. Marius, he shouts. Fight it. Keroth's head turns slightly. Superman hits him. Not full strength, but enough to break the lock. The Chaos Lord flies backward, smashing through a pew. The demon blade slips out of Marius's side. Marius gasps. Air rushes back into his lungs. The vision shatters. He stumbles to his feet, reeling. Inside, the wound remains. The idea stays. One city for one world. It would work. Flash appears beside him, hand on his arm. "Stay with us, big guy," Barry says. "Don't go full burn it all. We like our cities non-toasted." Marius looks down at him. "You would risk this city to save your ideals," he says hoarsely. "Yeah," Flash says. "That's the whole point of ideals. If you only keep them when it's easy, they're not real." Wonder Woman's lasso snakes out. It wraps around Marius's waist. Golden light seeps into the cracks of his armor. "Speak your truth," she says softly. "Not the whisper's truth. Yours." The lasso of truth does not control. It reveals. Inside, under layers of gene craft and training, Marius feels something he has not let himself feel in many years. Fear, not of death, not of demons. Fear of becoming the very monster he fights. "What do you fear?" Diana asks. "That I will choose wrong," he says, words dragged out of him. "That I will burn the innocent to save the guilty. That I will become like him." He looks at Keroth, who is rising again, dark eyes hungry. "The warp uses that fear," Wonder Woman says. "It twists it into a simple lie. That the only way to avoid mistakes is to become cruel. That is not truth. That is surrender." "Your own leaders may demand Exterminatus here," Keroth calls, standing amid broken wood. "Do you think they will care for these people in the balconies? They will see a corrupted city and order fire, and you will obey, unless you rise above them, unless you accept that you can decide better with chaos's power." Batman speaks from the shadows. "Captain," he says, voice low but clear, "you said your duty is to mankind, not flags, not even to the Imperium's banners if they demand senseless burning. That's why you came through that storm. You chose people over orders." Marius remembers the valiant spear, the order to hold position and wait for reinforcements while a frontier world burned. His choice to break that order and jump into the storm. "Yes," he says. "So don't sign away that conscience now," Batman says. "Not to chaos, not to my government, not to anyone. You need it. We need it." Keroth laughs. "Listen to him," he says. "He wants to turn you into another masked fool, chained by doubt." He points his sword at the spinning circle. "If you will not accept my gift, then watch them die," he says. "The null field will reach the whole city by dawn. Your people will stop fighting. My demons will walk through them like tall grass." He raises his free hand. Warp energy builds. The people in the balconies twitch. Their faces twist as their will is squeezed even tighter. Marius feels the tug. He lifts his own gauntlet. The vision of orbital fire returns. He could call the watchtower. Ask for a focused beam. Burn this building, this block, maybe more. End the ritual. Kill Keroth's anchors. One command. One more Exterminatus by another name. Superman sees his handshake. "Marius," he says, "look at me." The Space Marine turns his helm. In Superman's face, there is no mockery. No softness now, just raw determination. "We will find another way," Superman says. "It may hurt, it may cost us, but we don't kill everyone just because it's faster. We stand in the way. We hold the line. Together." Marius feels the lasso squeeze. Truth burns along his nerves. He thinks of the Emperor, not as a distant, silent god on a golden throne, but as the man who walked with his sons, who led from the front, who chose to fight for mankind, not just rule it. "What would he want?" Marius whispers. "Not the High Lords, not the Inquisition. Him." For a heartbeat, the warp noise fades. He sees a flash of gold, a tall figure in armor brighter than the sun, eyes full of sadness and strength, no words, just a simple feeling. Stand, protect, Do not become what you hate. Then the vision is gone. Sacred intervention, not a command, a reminder. Marius lowers his hand. He does not call for orbital fire. He raises his chainsword instead. I refuse you, Keroth, he says. I reject your offer. I am not your brother. I am my emperor's weapon, not your slave. Keroth snarls. So be it, he says. I will carve the doubt out of you. He charges. The second round of the duel is brutal. No more taunts. Just steel and warp and roaring engine teeth. Marius fights with renewed clarity. He still feels the temptation burning like a brand inside him. But now he knows it for what it is. A trick that promises control and delivers slavery. He takes hits. The demon blade slices his arm. His armor sparks. His flesh knits slower than normal. The null field slows his healing. He lands hits. Chainsword rips chunks from Keroth's armor. Blue blood and warp flames spit out. The Chaos Marine howls, both in pain and joy. The Justice League presses on their fronts. Batman's charge cutters go off with sharp blue flashes. Lines of warp energy around the circle snap. Wonder Woman leaps through a wave of shadow, lasso flaring, and wraps it around the spinning null vortex. Golden light clashes with purple. The circle shrinks. Flash, moving slower than usual, but still faster than any human, grabs catatonic people and drags them toward the edges of the field, pressing jolters to their necks as he goes. Hal pours ring power into a dome over the cathedral, keeping the null effect from surging outward. Superman watches every angle, catching falling bodies, deflecting stray blasts, soaking hits that would flatten anyone else. The cathedral shakes. Stone dust rains down. With each anchor you cut, you weaken my blade, Keroth snarls, trading blows with Marius. But you also stress your own mind. Can you hear them yet? Marius can, whispers. You should have burned this place. This will cost more later. You are weak, he shouts back. Silence, he roars, and slams his shoulder into Keroth's chest. They crash into what's left of the altar. Stone explodes. For a moment they are locked, helm to helm. You will break, Keroth hisses. If not today, then when your precious Justice League turns on you, when their leaders demand your head, when you see that your mercy only bought them a slower death. Marius does not answer. He pushes every servo in his armor to maximum. He remembers the golden vision. He remembers the boy in Metropolis, the nurse in Coast City, the man on the Gotham street who said he did not want to die. He chooses them. He pushes. The demon blade claws across his chest, tracing the mark, deepening it, but failing to pierce straight through. Marius drives his chainsword into Keroth's side, teeth first. They bite. He drags the blade up. Armor splits. Warp ichor sprays. A roar shakes the stained glass. Keroth stumbles back. His chest plate hangs in tatters. The mark on his own armor pulses wildly. You think this wins? He growls. This is just a skirmish. This world will drown in the warp. And you are already half mine. He slams the demon blade point down into the spinning circle. Purple light flares. The floor cracks under Marius's feet. Batman! Superman shouts. The ritual is collapsing, Batman says. It's going to implode instead of explode. Everyone out, now. Not yet, Marius says. He sees Keroth starting to sink into the warp vortex, body dissolving into shadow. If he escapes, he will regroup. He will strike again. Marius jumps. He grabs Keroth's wrist with one hand, chainsword still embedded in the traitor's armor. He pulls. For a moment, both are caught between worlds. Warp winds scream. Voices claw at their helmets. You cannot drag me back, Keroth snarls. This is my sea. He flings a wave of raw warp energy into Marius's mind. Marius sees again the vision of burning Gotham, of saved Earth, of clear, simple choices. He screams, not in fear this time, in refusal. "I am not your tool," he shouts. "I chose to come here. I choose to fight. I choose to stand with them." He releases the chainsword. He lets Kaeroth go. The Chaos Lord laughs as he vanishes into the vortex. "Then I will see you at the next world's grave," he says, and is gone. The circle collapses. Purple light implodes, then blows outward in a wave of grey dust. The catatonic people slump. Some wake, coughing. Some remain limp. The null field fades. Hal drops to one knee, ring dim, sweat running down his face. Flash lies on his back, chest heaving. Wonder Woman lowers her lasso, shoulders tense. Superman reaches out and grabs Marius before he can fall into the closing vortex. He hauls the heavy warrior back onto solid stone. They land together, hard. The cathedral's roof finally gives way in several places. Rain pours in. Marius lies on his back, staring at the crumbling ceiling. He feels the demon wound in his side, a deep chill under his armor. He feels the mark on his chest, now no longer just a surface brand but a slow, steady burn in his gene seed. He has refused chaos, but the scar remains. "The null field is gone," Batman reports, voice rough. Gotham's emotional levels are returning to normal, chaotic, but alive. Outside, sirens rise again, shouts, cries, the city breathes. First, people cared too little, now they care too much. That is Gotham. Marius sits up. The lasso's golden light fades from around him. Wonder Woman watches him, ready to wrap it back around if his eyes go wrong. "You refused him," she says. "Yes," Marius says. "But the wound is real," Batman adds, stepping closer. He kneels by the Space Marine's side wound, scanners humming softly in his gauntlet. "Your armor is intact," he says, "but there's something inside, like a tumor made of static." "A warp scar," Marius says. "It will not heal on its own. Each time I draw on my faith, each time I stand near a breach, it will flare. It may whisper again." "Can we cut it out?" Flash asks. "Magic surgery? Green scalpel?" "Maybe," Hal says, weakly lifting his ring. "But not with what I have here, and not without knowing what happens if we poke the demon wound wrong." Superman looks around the broken cathedral. People are being carried out now. Some walk on their own, dazed but awake. Others are unconscious. Outside, the bat signal shines weakly through thinning clouds. "This city almost lost its will to live," he says quietly. "We pulled it back, but Kaeroth is still out there, and you're carrying part of his mark." Marius gets to his feet. He sways, then steadies. "I am still myself," he says, "but I am compromised." Batman nods once. "I agree," he says. "You need help, not just from us." "What do you mean?" Superman asks. Batman looks up at the broken roof, at the sky beyond. "Up to now, we've been reacting," he says. "Putting out fires, closing breaches. We met the enemy's champion and survived, but we didn't remove the root. We need a higher command decision, someone who understands the warp from your side." Marius knows who he means. "The Inquisition," he says, "or my chapter master, or..." He stops. "Or the Emperor himself. Can you reach them?" Wonder Woman asks. "Across universes, through this sea of souls," Marius thinks. "The teleportarium dragged me here," he says. "There is now a path between this galaxy and mine. The warp knows it. Kaeroth used it. I might send a message back along it. A prayer. A call." "Would they hear?" Flash asks. "If the Emperor wills it, yes," Marius says. Batman straightens. "Then that's our next step," he says. "We help you reach your supreme authority. We learn the rules of your war from the highest source. We ask for a mandate that keeps both our world and yours alive. And if they decide I am too corrupted? Marius asks. He knows the answer. In his Imperium, suspicion alone can be death. They may order your death, he says, or the burning of this world. Superman's eyes narrow. We won't allow that, he says. You may not have a choice, Marius replies. We always have a choice, Wonder Woman says. We may not like the cost, but we choose. Batman looks at Marius. You came here because you disobeyed an order to stay away, he says. You chose then. You can choose again. Hal groans as he stands. So what? We go on a road trip to meet Space Emperor Dad, he says. Through the warp, with a half-corrupted super soldier and a bunch of capes. Flash smiles weakly. Sounds like a Justice League mission to me, he says. Plus, one very large Marine. Marius feels tired down to his bones. The duel has left a shadow in his mind. Keroth's offer still whispers at the edges. One city for one world. But overlaying that, like a new layer of paint, is the golden vision. Stand, protect, do not become what you hate. He looks at the broken altar. An old, cracked stone eagle lies there, part of the cathedral's original design. He walks over. He picks it up. He holds it in both hands. It is not an Aquila of his Imperium, but it is close enough. He closes his eyes. He speaks in High Gothic, the ritual tongue of his chapter. Lord of mankind, he says quietly, I am far from terror. I am marked by the enemy. I stand among new allies who fight for humanity in their own way. Judge me, guide me, tell me if I must live, or if I must die so that they may live. The room falls silent. Even the rain seems to hush. For a second, nothing happens. Then the stone eagle warms in his hands. A thin line of light runs along its wings. Marius's vision blurs. He sees, not clearly but enough, a vast golden palace under a broken sky. Armies of silent gold-armored guards, a throne of machines and bone. On it, a figure of pure light. He feels a gaze. It weighs him, not cruel, not gentle, just absolute. He hears no words, but understanding drops into him like a hammer. You are not done. You are stained, but still my blade. Come to the throne. Stand before me. Accept a new oath or final fire. Then the vision breaks. Marius staggers. Superman catches his arm. What did you see? He asks. The Emperor calls me to terror, Marius says. Your supreme authority wishes to speak with mine. Batman's eyes narrow. Then Act 1 of this war is over, he says. Next, we go to your home. Fortress Planet, Golden Guards, the works. He looks around at the team. Rest, repair, and get ready, he says. We're leaving our universe. Marius looks once more, at Gotham through a broken window. The city is still grim, still broken in many ways, but it is awake. People shout at each other, argue, cry, hug, curse the rain, curse the heroes, curse their luck. They care. That matters. He grips the cracked eagle and tucks it into a slot on his belt. A relic now. The corruption in his chest burns. The warp whispers. The Emperor's silent command is louder. To terror then, to judgment. Up to now, Marius has refused chaos in Gotham's broken cathedral, driven Keroth back into the warp, and heard the Emperor call him to terror. Now he and the Justice League must cross the sea of souls itself, and stand before a God Emperor who has not spoken in 10,000 years, to ask what kind of weapon Marius is allowed to be. The Watchtower's medical bay hums with soft machines. Marius sits on a reinforced slab. His armor is open at the side. Under the ceramite, his skin looks like pale stone scored by old scars. Near his ribs, The demon wound is a black bruise that refuses to fade. Martian Manhunter stands beside him, green hand hovering just above the skin. I cannot heal this, John says. His voice is quiet, almost sad. It is not only flesh, it is also pattern, a word written into your being. Marius nods once. I know, he says. Demon blades write in soul and gene seed. Beside them, Batman studies the scans. The screen shows Marius's chest as layers of red, orange, and purple. At the center, the warp mark glows a cold white. Every time you push yourself, Batman says, this scar lights up. Every time the warp gets close, it flares. If we're going to send you into that ocean again, we need to know the cost. Marius looks down at the wound. It may break me, he says. It may twist me. But if the Emperor called me to terror, then I must go, even if the journey kills me. Wonder Woman stands at the foot of the slab. Not alone, she says. If this wound is a word, we will not let the enemy finish the sentence. Flash leans on a nearby console. And if the Emperor turns out to be a giant golden jerk, he asks, what then? Then I will deal with him, Batman says, not joking. Hal snorts. Sure, he says. You can write him a stern note. The door opens with a hiss. Two new figures enter. One is a woman in a top hat and fishnets, with a long coat and sharp, tired eyes. Zatanna Zatara. The other wears a golden helmet shaped like a long, smooth bird skull. Blue and gold robes ripple around him. Dr. Fate. They bring a new kind of weight into the room. The air tastes faintly of old books and storms. We heard you needed to cross a sea of souls, Zatanna says. Not my favorite vacation spot, but I've been to worse. Dr. Fate's voice echoes inside his helm. The warp is not separate from magic, he says. It is a name for the same storm. Thoughts, dreams, gods, monsters. Marius watches them. These are your psychers, he says quietly. Your sorcerers. We call them magicians, Zatanna says. Sorcerer sounds like someone who wants to eat the world. In my Imperium, any who touch the warp walk the line of damnation, Marius replies. But we need you. Your skills can shape the path. Dr. Fate nods. The call you heard from your Emperor, he says, echoed through more than your warp. It touched our planes as well. We can latch onto that signal. Follow it back like a thread. Batman folds his arms. Risk assessment, he says. Worst case. Everyone dies screaming, Zatanna says. Then she gives a crooked half smile. Best case, we arrive on time and nobody turns into a chair. Flash squints. Chair? He asks. Don't ask, she says. Dr. Fate raises a hand. The warp will press against your minds, he says. It will whisper, show you futures, offer trades. If you grip too hard at any vision, you will sink. We must keep moving. We must remember this is a passage, not a home. Marius touches the small emergency jolter at his belt. I have pain, he says, and oaths. They will anchor me. Wonder Woman lifts her lasso. And you have this, she says. I will keep it ready. If any of us slip, I will pull truth to the surface again. Superman looks around the circle of faces. We all know the risks, he says. We go anyway. Because if we don't understand what kind of war we're in, we'll lose even if we win every fight. Hal nods. I'll provide structure, he says. Green tunnel, tight walls, less raw warp touching us. John steps back. I will not travel with you, he says. Someone must stay to defend this earth if you fail. But know this. He lays a hand on Marius's shoulder. You are not alone in your fear, John says. Every soldier doubts. The brave are those who act anyway, not those without doubt. Marius bows his head slightly. Thank you, he says. Codex note: for warriors in any galaxy, doubt is not weakness. It is the weight that makes their choices real. They stand in a circle in the watchtower's largest hangar bay. Stars shine through the open shielded wall. Marius is in full armor now, plates sealed, chainsword at his hip, bolter mag-locked to his side. Superman and Wonder Woman stand on either side of him. Batman, Flash and Hal form the other points of the ring. Zatanna and Dr. Fate stand opposite each other, hands raised. This will hurt, Dr. Fate says. Everything worth doing does, Marius replies. Zatanna takes a breath. Icerb et latiu tutiu gnirefus, she says, speaking backward. Her words twist in the air like glowing threads. Dr. Fate intones names none of them know. Old names. Raw sounds from before language. Hal's ring flares. A green tunnel forms around them, moving without moving, like a long tube of light, pointed at no direction and every direction. The stars bend, the air vibrates, the floor falls away. For a moment, the Justice League and a single Space Marine stand between one heartbeat and the next. Then the warp opens. The universe tears like wet paper. They fall into the sea of souls. There is no up or down, no air, no vacuum, just motion. Colors that do not exist in normal space curl and roar around them. Shapes like thoughts and screams pass by. Faces half made of light. Eyes the size of continents. Flashes of childhood memories that never happened. Hal holds the tunnel. His ring projects a cylinder of green light around them. Beyond it, the warp claws at the edges. Inside it, there is at least a sense of direction. Flash's eyes are wide. I hate this, he says. I really hate this. Can I say I hate this? Yes, Batman says. Good, Barry says. Because Something slaps the side of the tunnel. A huge, shadowy appendage, like a hand made of crows. It scrapes along the green surface, leaving trails of purple fire. The warp does not like solid shapes, Dr. Fate says calmly. It will test our walls. Marius feels his mark burn. Voices press into his helm. You could rule this storm. You could carve safe paths for all mankind. Take the power. Use it. No more doubt. He recites another litany. Though the terror of the warp surrounds me, I shall know no fear, he says. The Emperor is my light. He is the shield of my mind. Wonder Woman hears a different song. The warp offers her a world where Themyscira never hid, where the Amazons ruled openly, where men's wars never spread. She feels the pull. She tightens her grip on the lasso. No, she says, if I rule alone, who holds me to account? Superman sees 100 Earths burning. He sees himself fail again and again, arriving just too late. He hears cries in languages he has never studied. He squares his shoulders. I help where I can, he says. I cannot be everywhere. That does not mean I stop. Batman sees nothing. Or rather, he sees every nightmare he has ever had. But they are just there. Old friends. Fear is home turf for him. He watches the tunnel walls for cracks. Zatanna and Dr. Fate focus. Their hands weave in patterns that keep the tunnel aligned with the Emperor's call. Time stretches. It might be minutes. It might be days. Marius feels each second as a step on a long, dark road. Then something changes. The warp around them settles, not calm, more like a crowd going quiet when a new figure walks in. Ahead, the tunnel darkens. A shape stands inside the green light, man-shaped, armored, tall. At first, Marius thinks it is Kereth again. Then he realizes this armor is not black and gold. It is blue and gold, ultramarine colors. The figure steps closer. His armor is bright, unmarred. His helm is off, His face is Marius's face, but younger, less scarred. His eyes burn with cold certainty. "Who are you?" Wonder Woman asks. The figure smiles. "I am what he could be," he says, nodding at Marius. "I am Lord Commander Marius Invictus, savior of 1,000 worlds. Mirapho be, not chaos, not a demon, a warp echo of duty taken too far." "What are you doing in my path?" Marius asks. His voice is flat. "I am your path," Invictus says, "at least the one that saves the most lives." He gestures, and images bloom in the air. Worlds that did not burn. Imperial colonies that did not fall to chaos. Families that lived in grey safety under harsh laws. "I broke with nothing," Invictus says. "I obeyed every order. I burned every world marked for death when told. I cut out corruption at the first sign. I never listened to soft voices who spoke of mercy." He looks at Superman, then at Wonder Woman. "I did not invite aliens and witches to tell me how to fight for mankind," he says. Supes frowns. "We are not your enemies," he says. "You are distractions," Invictus replies. "You make him question. You make him hesitate. You will cost lives." Marius takes a single step forward. The tunnel shakes. Hal's ring protests. "Careful," Hal grunts. "Any big move and this whole thing pops." "What do you want?" Marius asks the Echo. Invictus spreads his hands. "To warn you," he says. "If you go to Terra with these idealists, you risk more than yourself. The High Lords will see them as threats. The Inquisition will call them Xenos and heretics. You will have to choose between your oaths and your new friends." "That choice has already begun," Marius says. "You can avoid it," Invictus says. "Turn back, leave them, return alone. Tell the Emperor of a weak, soft world that must be watched but not helped. Keep your honor clean. Keep your duty simple." Wonder Woman steps up beside Marius. "Simple duty is a lie," she says. "My mother taught me that. It is always tied to people, and people are never simple." Invictus's eyes flash. "Amazon," he says, voice cold. "You are not of the Imperium. You are not of mankind as the Emperor made it. Your heart may be pure, but your soul is not sworn. You have no place in this war." Zatanna snorts. "I've met gods who talk like that," she says. "They always forget that humans choose who to stand with, not gods." Batman studies Invictus. "You only show him saved worlds," he says. "Not the price." Invictus smiles thinly. "Price is acceptable," he says. "That is the point. If 10 billion must die so that 1 trillion live, we pay. We do not flinch. We do not debate." Another image appears. An Earth that looks like theirs. Grey skies, crowded hives. No Justice League, no capes, but no demons either. "On this path," Invictus says, "your Earth survives as a compliant world of the Imperium. No chaos, no warp storms, just order, ration cards, faith. Is that so terrible?" Flash swallows. The thought of his city turned into a stacked hive of metal boxes makes his skin crawl. "Yeah," he says. "Actually, yes." Superman looks at the image. "I won't trade everyone's freedom for your safety," he says. "That's not survival. That's a cage." Invictus turns back to Marius. "You see," he says, "they do not understand scale. They think of cities. You must think of galaxies." Marius feels torn. This Echo knows his training, his math. 10 billion for 1 trillion. One city for one world. It is the hard logic of Exterminatus made flesh. "They are not wrong to defend freedom," he says slowly. "And you are not wrong that cost matters. But you have cut away too much." Invictus steps closer. He is nose to nose with Marius now. "We are weapons," he hisses, "not philosophers. If we start to weigh every soul we freeze, we hesitate. and people die screaming while we think. Maybe our job is to think, Marius says, not instead of fighting, alongside it. The tunnel shudders. Dr. Fate's voice cuts through. This echo is a test, he says, not from chaos, from the warp itself, from the part of you that is tired of doubt. Zatanna's magic crackles. She strains to keep the tunnel stable. Marius, she says, sweat beading on her forehead. We can't hold this chat for much longer. You have to pick a lane. Invictus lifts a hand. Warp power gathers in his palm. I will help you, he says. I will cut away your doubts. You will thank me later. He thrusts his hand toward Marius's chest. The mark burns white hot. Pain explodes. For an instant, Marius sees himself as Invictus. Armor brighter, rank higher, eyes empty of anything but obedience. He hears a whisper. Isn't it easier? He could give in. Let this echo take the wheel. He would never hesitate again. Easier is not better, he grinds out. He slams his own gauntlet over the mark, fingers digging into burning armor. He presses the emergency jolter into his neck. The shock is brutal. Even through Space Marine nerves, it hurts. He uses that pain like a line, dragging himself back. I am not you, he tells Invictus. I am not Kairoth. I am not a High Lord. I am Marius. I will take counsel from many, from these heroes, from my Emperor, but I will not hand my choices to a ghost. The warp around them flares. A new light cuts across the tunnel, golden, pure. It comes from beyond the warp, from far ahead like a lighthouse, the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon on Terra that guides Imperial ships. Here it shines like a spear through fog. The golden light slams into the tunnel. It burns through Invictus's form. For a moment, the Echo looks shocked. You would choose them, he asks. These unwashed cousins, these soft hearts. I choose a harder path, Marius says. One where I keep my doubt, where I listen, where I answer to more than fear. Invictus's face twists. You will regret it, he spits. Then he shatters into dust. The tunnel stabilizes. The warp roars in anger outside, but the golden beam holds it back. Dr. Fate's shoulders sag in relief. The beacon has accepted you, he says. The throne calls you on. It does not want you lost in your own echo. The golden light carries them. The warp falls away like a shed skin. The tunnel opens. They burst back into real space. They stand on a wide metal deck. Not the watchtower, a hangar bay, massive. The ceiling arches high above them, studded with lights and prayer script. Servo arms hang ready to move ships like toys. The air smells of oil, incense, and ozone. Before them stretches a line of blue armored giants. Ultramarines, 3 squads, each as tall as Marius, each armed with bolters and swords. At their head stands a figure in white and gold armor, helmet under one arm. His bare head shows grey hair close cropped, a scar down one cheek, eyes sharp. Brother-Captain Marius, he says. His voice fills the hangar. You are late. Marius drops to one knee. Chapter Master Calgar, he says. His heart's pound. He had not known which Imperial authority would answer his call. To see his chapter master here in person means the Imperium is taking this very seriously. The Justice League looks between them. Batman's eyes take in every detail. Wonder Woman feels the weight of ceremony. She knows leaders when she sees them. Superman stands tall, not kneeling, but respectful. Calgar's gaze moves to the League. These are the allies you have chosen in this strange realm, he asks. Yes, Marius says. They fight for mankind. They have stood against demons and did not break. Calgar studies them. His eyes linger on Superman's emblem, on Diana's armor, on Batman's simple suit. "We stand aboard the valiant spear, far from Ultramar," he says. "We answered your prayer through the Astronomican's flare. We burned much fuel and faith to reach Saul in time." He looks past them. Through the hangar's open shield wall, the Justice League sees space, and beyond that, a sight that takes even Superman's breath. A world fills half the view. Terror, not the Earth they left. This Earth is older, heavier. Its surface is covered in endless cities, no green, no open blue, only layer upon layer of spires, plates and cathedrals, a single, world-wrapping hive. Around it hangs an iron halo, battle stations, orbital guns the size of islands, shipyards, docked warships, and above one continent, rising from the crust like a mountain of light, stands the Imperial Palace, a fortress cathedra, walls like cliffs, towers like spears, gold and white and black. "Welcome to Holy Terror," Calgar says. Hal lets out a low whistle. "Your home base is a lot," he says. Flash presses his face to the transparent barrier. "This is Earth if Gotham built the whole thing," he murmurs. Batman says nothing, but his jaw tightens. This is what happens when fear of invasion never stops. "Before we descend, we must tend to your wound," Calgar tells Marius. "Apothecary, Medici Bay." A white armored figure with a helm shaped like a skull steps forward. He carries a backpack full of tubes and saws. "Brother," the apothecary says, "walk." The Medici Bay is harsh and bright. Metal tables, tool racks, monitors that show simple runes instead of complex images. Marius lies back as his armor is cut away from the wound. The Justice League watches from behind a half wall. They are guests, not patients. The apothecary leans over the scar. Warp-burned flesh sits under it, dark and glassy. "The taint runs deep," he says. "Demon venom in the gene seed. I can slow its spread. I cannot remove it completely without killing you." "Do what you can," Marius says. The apothecary injects thick, yellow fluids. He presses a metal device over the wound. It hums and glows. Marius feels a cold heat, like ice water poured down the spine. His muscles spasm. He grits his teeth and does not cry out. On the other side of the half wall, Flash flinches. "Do they not have anesthesia?" he whispers. "In the Imperium, pain is a teacher," Batman says. "Pain is also a way to control," Wonder Woman replies quietly. She does not look away. The apothecary steps back. "The mark is bound tighter now," he says. "It will still burn near the warp. It will still whisper, but it will not spread as fast. You have time." "How much?" Batman asks. The apothecary glances at him, faintly annoyed that a baseline human speaks so freely. "A dozen battles," he says. "Less if he draws too much on faith, or on any warp-based gift." "Then we will make them count," Marius says. Codex note: Imperial Medici can shore up a demon wound, but every fix spends some of the warrior's future. Later, they gather in a shipboard chapel. The room is low and long, lined with candles. Icons of the Emperor cover the walls. Golden eagles, stern faces, scenes of battle. A simple altar stands at the front, bearing a metal aquila. Marius kneels before it. Other Ultramarines kneel in rows behind him. They chant softly, words of praise and duty. The Justice League stands near the back. They do not kneel, but they watch. "This is his heart," Wonder Woman says quietly. "Not the guns. This." Superman nods. He hears the chant and feels, under it, the same thing he feels in a Kansas church, or a Kryptonian memory crystal hall. People reaching for something bigger so they can carry heavy loads. Batman watches Calgar standing at the front, bareheaded. The chapter master's eyes are closed. His lips move. When the chant ends, Calgar turns. "Brother-Captain," he says, "walk with me." They step aside between rows of burning candles. Wonder Woman moves too, joining them. Calgar does not object. "This war pulls you between worlds," Calgar says to Marius, "between codes. Our dogma is harsh. Theirs is idealistic." "Soft," Marius says. Wonder Woman raises an eyebrow. "Or brave," she says. Calgar looks at her. "You think us cowards?" he asks. "I think you avoid certain pains by turning every problem into a nail," she replies. "War is a hammer. Justice is more than that." Calgar's jaw tightens. "In 10,000 years we have seen what happens when we treat rebellion lightly," he says. "Chaos grows. Worlds fall. And in those same years, how much joy have your people known?" she asks. "Do your children laugh? Do your poets sing? Or do they only chant war hymns?" Calgar opens his mouth, then closes it. He looks at Marius. "You have walked their streets," he says. "You have seen their Metropolis, their Gotham, their coast city. What did you see?" "Fear," Marius says. "And hope, chaos, but also courage. People who stand up even when they know they might fall." He pauses. "And I saw something I do not see often in the Imperium," he says. "Choice, flawed, messy, but real." Calgar is silent for a moment. "Our Imperium does not have that luxury," he says at last. "We are too beset, too weary." "Maybe," Wonder Woman says. "But if you crush all choice, you turn people into tools, not allies. Tools break. Allies stand with you." Calgar looks at the candles. "The Emperor chose to bear the weight alone," he says. "He took our choices and turned them into orders. We obey." "Did he?" Wonder Woman asks softly. "Or did men after him put their own fear into his mouth?" That lands. Marius feels the words like a stone thrown into an old well. "That is why I must stand before him," he says, "to know what he truly wants, not what others say he wants." Calgar looks at him. "You understand that he may say you are tainted," he says, "that he may order your death, even after all you have done." "Yes," Marius says, "and if he orders the burning of their world." Calgar nods toward the Justice League. Marius's answer is slow. "If he truly commands it," he says, "I will question for the first time, because I have seen those people. I have heard them. I cannot be blind again." Wonder Woman's eyes gleam. "That is not heresy," she says. "That is faith that thinks." Calgar sighs. "You walk a razor's edge, Brother-Captain," he says. "The Inquisition will not be pleased." "The Inquisition is not my God," Marius replies. For a moment, in this dim chapel between galaxies, a space marine and a demigoddess and a chapter master stand in a line that stretches between pure dogma and pure ideal. None of them are fully right. None of them are fully wrong. But they are at least looking at the same war now. A chime rings. "Translation complete," a voice says over the ship's vox. "We are in Sol system. Orbital defenses on approach. All hands to stations." Calgar straightens. "It is time," he says. "Come, Holy Terror awaits." They descend to Terra aboard a Thunderhawk gunship. The craft roars through layered shields and airspace zones. Outside, the sky is grey-yellow, split by constant flight paths. Below, the palace rises. It is not one building. It is a continent of stone and gold. Walls kilometers high, towers as thick as mountains, bridges large enough to hold cities. At the landing zone, a vast courtyard opens. Banners snap in the wind. Lines of soldiers stand in perfect ranks. Solar Auxiliar infantry in burnished armor. Regiments of Imperial Guard. Temple assassins masked and silent. And at the far end of the courtyard, at the base of a wide stair leading into the palace itself, stand the Emperor's personal guardians, the Adeptus Custodes. They are taller even than Space Marines. Golden armor gleams on their bodies. Their spears pulse with power. Beside them stand robed women with shaved heads and calm faces. The Sisters of Silence. Their very presence makes the air feel thinner. Magic dies around them. Zatanna gasps. "My spells," she whispers. "They just stopped." Dr. Fate sways. "Their minds are blanks," he says. "No presence in the warp. They are holes in the storm." Marius feels a different pressure. Being near the Custodes is like standing near a living ideal. Perfect warriors, unbroken. The gunship lands, the ramp drops. Heat and incense and the weight of history hit them. Marius steps out first. He feels small for once. Not in size, but in time. He is one soldier in an army that has lasted 10,000 years. The custode at the center lifts his spear. "Captain Marius of the Ultramarines," he says. His voice is deep and calm. "The Master of Mankind has heard your prayer. He grants you audience." He looks past Marius. "At your request," he continues, "he will also see these off-world champions. They will stand under his gaze. They will not be harmed while they keep peace in his presence." Batman's shoulders ease a fraction. "Appreciated," he says dryly. Wonder Woman bows her head. "Tell your master that we come with respect," she says. "The Emperor needs no words from me," the custode replies. "He hears your hearts already." The Sisters of Silence move. They surround the group. Their null fields damp the warp. Marius's mark burns less. Zatanna feels like she is walking through a vacuum where sound should be. Dr. Fate's powers fold inward. Good. No one will hear the warp's whispers here. They climb the stairs. Each step is polished by the feet of billions of pilgrims. Statues tower overhead. Heroes, saints, legions. Superman looks at them all and wonders how many of these men and women made choices like Marius. How many broke and how many held. They pass through gate after gate. Massive doors of adamantium. Gatehouses with guns thicker than old Earth towers. Finally, they come to a hall so long the far end is eaten by haze. Columns carved with endless scenes of war hold up a roof painted like a sky full of dying suns. At the very end of this hall stands the golden throne. It is not pretty, it is terrible. A mass of cables, pipes and engines. A seat carved into its heart, holding a body that is both man and machine. The Emperor of Mankind. His flesh is withered, a corpse held upright by armor and machinery. But from him, even in this broken state, pours psychic light. It fills the hall. It presses against their minds. The Custodes kneel to one knee. The Sisters of Silence bow their heads. Marius drops to both knees. His helmet retracts with a hiss. His face is bare to the light. "Most holy," he whispers. The Justice League does not kneel. They stand, not in defiance, in respect of a different kind. Superman rests his hand over his emblem. Wonder Woman crosses her arms over her chest in an Amazon salute. Batman lowers his head, eyes still open. The light touches each of them. It feels different to each. To Superman, it feels like standing near a yellow sun that has seen too much, warm but tired. To Wonder Woman, it feels like an old god of war who carries guilt as well as power. To Batman, it feels like a mind that has carried the world's worst secrets for far too long. To Flash, it feels like time, heavy and slow, judging his frantic speed. To Hal, it feels like a will that could power a billion rings. To Zatanna and Dr. Fate, it feels like a spell that never ends. To Marius, it feels like home. No words come from the Emperor's lips. He does not move, but a voice fills their minds. Not loud, just absolute. You have walked my realm with strange companions, my son. Marius bows his head lower. Yes, Lord, he whispers in his mind. Forgive my presumption. I saw a new human world under attack by the warp. I broke order to aid it. You broke order to aid mankind, the voice says. This pleases me more than blind obedience. A shock runs through Marius. He had feared rebuke. Instead, he feels approval, small but real. The voice turns. It touches Superman. You are not of my design, the Emperor says, but you have chosen to guard a human world. You carry their hope like a banner. Superman swallows. I do my best, he thinks, without meaning to. Hope is a dangerous fuel, the voice says. It burns bright, then leaves ashes. But without it, men lie down and die. You must learn to hold it without letting it blind you. To Wonder Woman, you are a child of other gods, the Emperor says. Your justice is sharp. Your mercy has teeth. You see that war without restraint becomes rot. Diana feels seen in a way that is both comforting and heavy. To Batman, you are a mortal who has made yourself into a blade, the voice says. You know fear better than most. You turn it into a tool without letting it own you. Your world needs such men. Bruce's jaw tightens. He does not bow lower, but he accepts the weight. To Hal, will is the currency of my Imperium, the Emperor says. You carry much. Do not spend it on yourself. Hal feels very small. To Flash, speed alone cannot outrun despair, the Emperor says. You have learned this. You stay anyway. Barry blinks back sudden tears. To Zatanna and Dr. Fate, you touch the warp with discipline, the Emperor says. In my realm, you would be bound in chains or burned on pyres. This is not entirely wrong, but it is not entirely right. Your path is a knife edge. Walk it carefully. Then, back to Marius. You carry a mark of my enemies, the Emperor says. It eats at your gene seed. It offers you simple lies. Marius touches his chest. Yes, he thinks. You stood against Chaos's offer, the Emperor continues. You stood against the echo of your own weary duty. You listened to those who see the world in other colors. This is new for one of my Astartes. The light around them shifts. They see visions, not futures, not exactly, possibilities. A world where Marius returns alone, leaving the League to fight their war without him. He stands on a deck, watching a distant Earth through scanners, never touching it again. A world where he brings the Imperium's full weight to bear on their Earth. Ships blot out their sky. Compliance edicts ring out. The League either kneels or dies. A world where he stays there forever, never returning to Terra. He becomes a legend in that universe, a mythic warrior who walks among cartoons and gods, slowly burning up his life fighting breaches. The Emperor's voice cuts through. You seek to know what victory means, he says. In my long war, victory is never clean. It is simply survival with a little light left over. You have seen another way. They win battles but keep souls. Marius feels tears sting his eyes. He has never cried in armor. There is no room for it. Now, in the light of the Golden Throne, he does. Only a little. You will not become soft, my son, the Emperor says. You will not abandon cost, but you will learn to count more than numbers. You will count stories, faces. He feels something shift in the mark on his chest. Golden light pours into it. It burns. He gasps. On the outside, the 8-pointed star flares. Then a new symbol overlays it. A small, simple aquila burned over the chaos sign, not erasing it, claiming it. You are stained, the Emperor says. You will never be fully clean. This is the price of walking where I send you, but you will be mine, not theirs. The light dims slightly. The Emperor's presence withdraws a fraction. You will return to that other Earth, he says. You will stand with these champions as my envoy. You will close the breaches that Keroth opens. You will not bring the Imperium's lash upon their world without my direct word, nor will you kneel to their rulers when they demand you burn innocents. The custodes bow their heads. They hear the mandate too. Somewhere deep in the palace, scribes scratch on parchment. A new decree enters the endless law. Power Scaling Interlude 2. In the silence that follows, Marius understands the new rules. Each time he calls on the Emperor's light in battle now, it will flare through the scar on his chest, burning chaos back, but also burning his own life away a little faster. He is forbidden to order planetary purges in that other universe without a clear sign from the throne, and he is forbidden to obey if its governments ask him to act against that world's innocent millions. He may travel between realms only when the Astronomicon opens a narrow path, and each crossing strains the link between universes, making the warp storms worse if he abuses it. He is still a weapon, but no longer a simple one. His edge is set by 2 codes now, not 1. The Emperor's voice speaks one last time. Go, my son, he says. Face the 3 roads before you, then choose. The light eases. The hall feels heavier, darker. The golden throne is once again only a machine with a dying god on top. Marius lowers his head to the floor. By your will, he whispers. The Justice League shares a long look. Up to now, they have fought side by side, clashed over mercy and cost, faced a Chaos Lord and a mirror of pure duty, and stood before a God Emperor who has given Marius a new, burning brand of purpose. Next, they must return to their own universe, face Keroth's full invasion, and accept that whatever choice Marius makes among the 3 paths shown to him will reshape both their worlds. Up to now, Marius has refused chaos in Gotham, faced the echo of his own hard duty in the warp, and stood before the Golden Throne on Terra. The Emperor has claimed his scar, branded him as an envoy, and set limits on his power. Now he must return to the other Earth, fight Keroth's full invasion, and choose which future he will live and die for. They leave Terra in silence. The Thunderhawk carries them back up through the thick, smog-stained sky and into orbital night. Marius sits strapped into a grav couch along the bulkhead. His armor is sealed again, the new brand hidden under plates of blue ceramite. Underneath, it burns with a slow, steady heat. Across from him sit Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, The Flash, and Green Lantern. No one jokes. They all feel the weight of what they have just seen. The Emperor of mankind, a god on a machine throne, a voice that can crack a man's mind with a word, and yet chose to speak in measured lines. Calgar stands near the exit ramp, braced against the side. You have heard his will, the chapter master says to Marius. You understand the mandate? Yes, Marius answers. Say it, Batman says quietly. Marius turns his helm toward him. I am ordered to return to your Earth as the Emperor's envoy, he says. I am forbidden to bring the Imperium's full weight upon your world without his direct command. I am forbidden to allow your rulers to use me as their weapon against innocent millions. Each time I call on his light, it will burn the chaos scar in my chest and shorten my life. Each crossing between our universes strains the path. If I abuse it, the storms will grow worse for both realms. Batman nods. Good, he says. Constraints are important. You sound like one of our codicias, Calgar says dryly, always thinking about lists and rules. Rules are how we survive ourselves, Batman replies. Flash shifts in his seat, legs bouncing. So we have a half-cursed super soldier with a divine leash, a corridor between universes that breaks if we use it too much, and a chaos warlord who now knows both addresses, he says. Just making sure I've got the summary right. You do, Wonder Woman says. She reaches out and lays a hand on Marius's plated forearm. When we go back, we will stand with you, she adds. Not behind you, with you. He inclines his head. Her touch is light, but it helps. Hal looks at Calgar. What about you? He asks. You coming along with a few thousand of your best friends? No, Calgar says. The Emperor's will is clear. This is not an Imperial crusade. This is his son's trial, and your world's. His gaze hardens. But know this, he adds. If that Chaos Lord breaks your defenses and threatens Terra's link, if the warp storm begins to eat into our reality from your side, then the High Lords will demand harsher measures. Exterminatus is never far from their thoughts. You would burn an entire universe? Flash asks, appalled. No, Calgar says. Just the part that leaks into ours. That may include your world. That is why we must stop Keroth's invasion now, before panic in the Imperium reaches that point. Superman's eyes narrow. Then we don't give them cause to panic, he says. We end this on our side of the breach. Agreed, Marius says. Calgar steps closer to him. You walk a path I do not fully understand, he says. You listen to voices my Imperium has taught us to ignore. But the Emperor himself has set you on this road. For that alone, you have my respect. Marius bows his head. Thank you, Chapter Master, he says. Calgar clasps his shoulder. Do not fall, Brother-Captain, he says softly. If you do, it will not just be your own soul that suffers. Your fall will be the story that Inquisitors tell for 10,000 years, when they argue that no Astartes should ever be allowed to think. Marius's heart beat harder. I will not fall, he says. He hopes it is true. The valiant spear prepares the corridor. In the ship's deepest hold, tech priests chant as they calibrate the teleportarium. The air smells of hot oil and incense. Red-robed figures move among brass machines, their eyes replaced with lenses, their hands half made of metal. Dr. Fate and Zatanna stand at the edge of the chamber. Lines of glowing script hover in the air around them, binding Imperial wards to Earth magic. The Emperor's beacon will hold the far end of the path, Fate says. We will aim from this side. The corridor will be thinner than before, less space for the warp to poke its claws in. Less room for us too, Zatanna mutters. She pulls on a pair of fingerless gloves, flexes her hands. Sight tech tell, she says under her breath. The tunnel stabilizes. Hal raises his ring. I'll wrap us again, he says. But near your Earth, I'll have to open a door. Whatever is waiting will be right in our faces. We want that, Batman says. If Keroth has brought forces through, we need to hit them before they fan out. Marius steps onto the circle at the center of the teleport pad. The Justice League takes their places around him. Ready? Zatanna asks. No, Batman says. Yes, Superman says. Flash gives a shaky grin. I'm getting used to that answer combo, he says. The tech priest leading the ritual raises his mechadendrite arms. In the name of the machine god and the Omnissiah, we tear a path, he intones. Voice and engines rise together. The universe flares white. They fall. The second crossing is not like the first. It is shorter, sharper. The warp does not have as long to whisper, but it tries anyway. Marius feels the scar flare. He hears Keroth's laughter, distant but eager. You come back, the Chaos Lord's voice hisses in his mind. Good, I have set the table. Superman hears the echo too, like static, He knows we're coming, he says. We knew he would, Wonder Woman replies. Better to walk into a known trap than wait for an unseen one. Batman grips a cable hanging from the tunnel wall. His jaw is tight. He's not used to having so little control over the path. Hal's ring flares brighter. Green light digs into the warp, forcing a way through. On the far end, a new light appears. Blue and white, Earth, their Earth, home. They burst out of the corridor into near orbit. The watchtower spins in front of them. It is wounded. Scars of purple fire run along its hull. One module hangs half detached, held by emergency fields. Small fires burn behind cracked viewports. Beyond it, Earth turns. Clouds move, continents gleam, and everywhere along its night side, tiny purple sparks mark breach sites. Metropolis, Gotham, Coast City, Central City, Gotham again, others. Above the planet, hanging like a dark moon, is Keroth's warship. It is a twisted sibling of the Valiant Spear, black metal, brass trim, spikes like teeth. Its prow is a snarling demon face. Around it swarm smaller ships and warp shapes. The main tear sits under its keel, a spinning vertical wound in space. Warp storms ripple out from it, licking the upper atmosphere. By the throne, Marius breathes. Keroth has not waited. He has built a fortress in this universe, using the corridor Marius opened as a seed. Watchtower, this is Superman, Clark says at once, voice sharp. We're back. Status. The reply is ragged with static, but it comes. Good. To hear your voice, comes John's calm tone. Station holding. Shields at 40%. Multiple breach attempts repelled. Earth cities under attack, but League satellites are still online. Batman's eyes flick across the damage. What hit you? He asks. Warp phantoms and boarding demons, John says. We drove them off, but they left scars. Lines of damaged metal and dead crew. Marius knows that cost. The main anchor is that ship, he says, pointing at Keroth's vessel. If we break it, the largest tear will shrink, like cutting the head off a spear. Mixed metaphor, Flash says softly, then shakes his head. Sorry, stress babble. We divide, Wonder Woman says. Ground teams hold the cities. Orbital teams hit the ship and the breach. We must keep people alive while we cut the route. Hal lifts his ring hand. I can shield one big city at a time, he says. Maybe two if I push. But if I do that, I can't be in the spear team. Superman nods. Go, he says. Start with Coast City. Hal hesitates. I'm not leaving you without a lantern up here, he says. We'll manage, Batman says. You've got one very large blue lantern substitute, Flash adds, nodding at Marius. Marius does not understand the joke, but he understands the need. Go, guardsman, he says to Hal. Your people need that light. Hal's jaw tightens. He salutes once, then streaks toward the planet, ring trailing bright green. Flash, you're ground too, Batman says. Central City and Gotham are both lit up. We need your speed on evacuation and triage. Flash nods. He looks once at Marius. Try not to die while I'm not up here to make jokes at you, he says. I will try, Marius says. Then Barry falls toward the world, red lightning following. Zatanna, Fate, Superman says. You and John coordinate magic defense and counter breaches from the watchtower. Plug any hole Keroth opens. Keep our line of retreat open. Zatanna nods. Dr. Fate inclines his helm. Marius speaks. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, he says. Come with me. We take the fight to Keroth this time. We do not wait for him to step into your streets. Batman looks at the warship. Plan, he asks. Anchor and counter-anchor, Marius says. He tied his ship to the breach, The Emperor tied me to the same storm. If I push my scar against his anchor, we can rip his ship off its hold on your physics." "And what does that do to you?" Wonder Woman asks. Marius answers plainly. "It will burn me," he says. "Maybe kill me, maybe not at once. But if we do nothing, your world may die instead." Superman shakes his head. "We find a way that doesn't throw your life away like ammunition," he says. "We need you alive." Batman stares at the warship. "If we don't break his anchor, Earth burns," he says. "If we do, you might burn." He looks at Marius. "Those are bad options," he says, "but one is worse." Marius nods once. "I am a weapon," he says. "I was made to be used." "You are more than a weapon," Wonder Woman says. "Yes," he replies, "but I am not less." They move. Green light from the last remnants of Hal's ring platform carries them close enough for Marius to fire his jump pack thrusters. He flares them once, pushing forward. Superman takes Batman and Diana by the arms and pulls them through space. As they travel, the Emperor's light hums under Marius's scar. It is not words, it is pressure, a reminder, soon. The outer defenses of Kerith's warship wake. Gun turrets swivel. Demon-faced cannons spit purple fire. Superman veers, taking the brunt of one blast on his chest. He grunts. His suit smokes. But he keeps flying. Wonder Woman spins, bracers crossing. Warp-lace bolts hit her shield and slide off in arcs. Batman uses grappling lines tied to Superman's belt to change angle, slinging small devices at guns as they pass. The charges land. They flash, not in fire, but in dead silence. The guns they hit go dark. "Void scramblers," Batman says into the comm. "They cut power without feeding the warp. Based on what we saw in Gotham's null zone. Glad they work here." "They will only work so many times," Marius says, firing his bolter at a swarm of winged demons crawling along the hull. "The ship's spirits will adapt." "Then we move fast," Superman says. They punch through a hangar bay. Inside, warped fighters sit like sleeping bats. Demons scurry along gantries. Marius lands first, boots smashing deep dents into the deck. He swings his chainsword. The roaring teeth carve a path through the first wave of creatures. Superman wades in like a living, battering ram. Wonder Woman's sword flashes. Batman's gadgets crackle and stun, disabling warp creatures long enough for others to finish them. They fight their way out of the hangar and down twisted corridors. The ship is wrong inside. Walls pulse as if alive. Symbols of chaos crawl along the metal. Eyes open and close in shadows. The anchor points will be near the warp core, Marius says, reading the layout by instinct, more than sight. Deepest part of the ship, closest to the tear. Batman checks his internal map. Picking up massive energy draw straight ahead and down, he says, like a reactor, but angled toward that breach outside. Then that is where he stands, Marius says. They move. Demons throw themselves at them. Some are huge, hulking things of iron and bone. Others are small, quick, trying to bite through armor plates. Superman's fists blur. Diana's lasso snares a beast's neck and whips it into another. Batman moves with cold efficiency, always where he is needed most, landing a gas pellet, a flash charge, a cutting line. Marius's bolter roars when he has a clear shot. His chainsword never stops. Each time they clear a wave, more rise. The ship is a hive of hate. "John," Batman says into the comm. "Status." "City's holding," the Martian Manhunter replies. "Your devices are disrupting anchor rituals in Gotham and Metropolis. The null effects are gone, but demonic incursions continue." "Hal," Superman calls. "Coast City shielded," Hal says, breathless. "Ring at 60%. I can keep this up, but not forever. Then we make forever shorter, Wonder Woman says. They reach a vast chamber, the warp engine heart. The floor is a circle of black metal inscribed with the 8-pointed star. Above it hangs a spinning knot of warp energy. It is the other side of the tear. Raw, screaming color. Chains of light link it to the ship's hull. Each chain pulses like a heartbeat. At the center of the circle stands Keroth. He is changed, bigger. Armor cracked but reforged with bone. His horned helm has grown new spikes. One arm pulses with exposed warp energy where the chains meet his flesh. The demon blade still sits in his other hand, but now it leaks a constant drip of purple fire. "Welcome, brother," he says as they enter. "And welcome, little heroes." Superman steps forward. "This ends today," he says. Wonder Woman lifts her shield. Batman's eyes narrow behind the white lenses. Marius's scar burns. "Your ship will fall," Marius says. "Your anchor will be cut. Your invasion will fail." Keroth laughs. "Even if you break this shell, the damage is done," he says. "The tears have formed. The warp has tasted this world. It will keep licking at it forever." He points his demon blade at Marius. "And you," he says, "you stink of the throne now. He has branded you twice. First with me, now with him. Do you think that makes you free?" Marius says nothing. He steps onto the black circle. The warp chains hum. Keroth gestures. The chains lash out. They wrap around Marius's limbs, digging through armor into flesh and soul. Pain hits, not sharp, deep. The mark on his chest flares as the chains find it. "You are my counter-anchor," Keroth says. "The Emperor bound you to this storm. I bound myself. Together, we complete the circuit." The warp knot above swells. Outside, the tear over Earth widens. Hal grunts as his ring fights to hold the growing strain. On the ground, Flash feels the air crackle. Guys," he says into the comm, even as he pulls a family out of a collapsing building. "Sky is doing the bad light show again." "Working on it," Batman answers. Superman and Wonder Woman move to free Marius. Demon chains lash at them. Diana's sword cuts some, but each cut sends a shock through Marius's body. He groans. "Stop," he says. "If you break the wrong ones, you will tear me apart." "So what do we do?" Superman demands. Marius feels the chains in his soul. Each one is a line. Some tie Keroth to the warp knot. Some tie Marius. Some tie the knot to Earth space. He understands. "This circle binds three things," he says through clenched teeth. "Him, me, and your sky. If we untie only one, the others will snap wild." Keroth's demon blade glows. "Why untie?" the Chaos Lord says. "We can pull instead. Let us see how much your Emperor's envoy can withstand before he breaks." He thrusts the blade into the mark on his own armor. Warp power surges. It slams through the chains into Marius. Fire and ice and knives. Marius's vision goes white. He feels his gene seed scream. He feels his heart stutter. He feels the Emperor's brand flare trying to burn the chaos back. And in that burning, time slows. He is standing nowhere. Just light, golden and purple, opposed. He feels the Emperor's presence like a mountain. He feels Keroth's hate like a storm. Between them, he is a single point. 3 doors open in the light. 3 paths. The Emperor's voice speaks. "You have walked halfway, my son," he says. "Now you must choose how to walk the rest." The first door shows a simple image. Marius back aboard the Valiant Spear. Keroth's ship destroyed by some final sacrifice. The tier closed for now. The Justice League stands on a battered Earth, watching the breach fade. Marius salutes them from the bridge, then turns away. The corridor between universes shuts. Years pass. He fights in his own galaxy. He leads crusades. He dies on some nameless world in battle against a demon prince, surrounded only by his brothers. On the other Earth, time moves on. Without his presence, the world heals at its own pace. New threats rise. The League adapts. Sometimes at night, Superman looks at the stars and wonders what happened to the giant in blue. Sometimes in the warp, Keroth finds new roads back. The Emperor's voice explains. "Return," he says. "Your war is in your own galaxy. Your death will be in its soil. This other Earth will face its storms without you, for good or ill. You will be my loyal blade in one realm only." The second door opens. Marius walks alone. No Ultramarines banners, no Justice League. His armor is scarred with symbols that are neither pure Imperial nor fully Chaos. He has cut himself free from both thrones. He roams the space between universes, using his scar as a key. He appears where breaches form, in 1,000 worlds. He kills demons. He saves some planets. He burns others when he thinks he must. There is no one above him to say yes or no. He answers only to his own code. At first, it is clean. He picks the hard path. He helps the weak. He refuses to rule. But over centuries, the weight of choosing alone bends him. He grows harsher. More worlds burn. More faces become numbers. He becomes a legend of fear in the warp. Even Keroth whispers his name with grudging respect. "Free agent," the Emperor says. "You will save many. You will damn many. You will become a third power in the storm, feared by both Imperium and Chaos. You will never again be able to trust another voice." The third door opens. Marius stands aboard the watchtower. His armor is still blue and gold, but the ultramarine U on his pauldron has changed. Behind it, a small circle holds 5 simple stars, echo of the Justice League symbol. On his chest, the Aquila burned over the 8-pointed scar glows faintly. He walks both halls. Sometimes he stands on Terra, giving report to Calgar and to stone-faced inquisitors. Sometimes he walks in Metropolis, dirty boots leaving tracks on clean floors, listening to Jamie and others like him talk about their lives. He fights in both wars. When breaches open in that Earth sky, he answers first as a Justice League member. When the warp path threatens Terra, he answers as the Emperor's envoy. Some days he is called a hero, some days a butcher, some days both in the same breath. He cannot obey every order from either side. There are meetings where he stands between Waller's cold demands and Calgar's iron doctrine, saying no to both. There are nights where he kneels in a watchtower chapel, reciting litanies while Superman stands at the window above, listening to a prayer he does not fully understand. He lives shorter. Each time he calls on the Emperor's light, the scar burns deeper. He feels his time shrinking. But under this path, Earth still stands. Terra still stands. The corridor between them is thin but stable. Chaos hates that bridge. Keroth's future self paces in the warp, furious that he must now fight a war on 2 fronts. Not just Imperium or Justice League, but a united, if uneasy line. "Sanctioned servant," the Emperor says. "You will lose much. Your life will burn in many small pieces, not one grand blaze. You will anger my servants and theirs. You will never again belong fully to one army, but you will hold a line that no one else can." The visions hang. Marius feels his heart's pound. He has seconds. Outside this bubble of slowed time, Keroth's chains are still pumping warp into his scar. Superman and Wonder Woman are still trying to reach him. Batman is still analyzing angles. He must choose. The first path is safe. He knows that war. He knows how to be a loyal blade. The second path strokes his pride. Power without oversight, the ability to decide, no chains but his own word. The third path is the hardest, forever in between, always questioned, always bound by two laws that sometimes clash. He thinks of Jamie in Metropolis, staring at a broken sky, of the nurse in Coast City who still goes to work, even after standing in a warp fountain, of the man in Gotham who said, "I don't want to die." He thinks of his brothers on the Valiant Spear, of the countless worlds that depend on the Imperium's brutal shield. He thinks of the Emperor's silent approval in the throne hall, and he thinks of Karoth's laughter, of Invictus's cold certainty. If he leaves, Karoth will return, and these heroes will face him without knowing the warp the way he does. If he cuts himself free from the Emperor, he will become what he fears, a lone judge, burning worlds based only on his tired eyes. He cannot allow either. "I am a space marine," he says in the light. "I was made to stand where others break. If there is a bridge to hold, I will hold it." He turns toward the third door. "I choose to be your envoy and their ally," he tells the Emperor. "I choose to be bound and free at once. I choose the hard road." There is no answer in words, only a surge of golden heat through his scar. In the warp engine chamber, time snaps back. Marius roars. The chains around him blaze with new light. The Aquila burned over the 8-pointed star on his chest flares bright gold. The chaos mark shrieks under it. Superman sees the change. "Marius," he shouts, "talk to us." "I stand," Marius gasps. He pulls, not away from the chains, through them. Golden light pours from his chest into the warp knot above. It is not soft. It is not gentle. It is law, not the law of high lords or city councils. The law that says, "This far, no further." Written into reality itself. The warp knot convulses. Chains snap. Karoth staggers as lines of power he thought he controlled now fight back. "What have you done?" the Chaos Lord snarls. "I have accepted my mandate," Marius says. The light around his chest spreads. It traces lines along his armor. The ultramarine U on his pauldron glows, then changes. Behind it, etched into the plate, appears a small circle with 5 simple stars, one for each of the Earth champions who stood with him in the throne hall. Another emblem appears, faint but real, on his other shoulder, a tiny silver bat above a stylized planet. Batman sees it and almost laughs. Almost. "New paint job suits you," he says instead. The Aquila on Marius's breastplate no longer simply covers the Chaos Star. It has fused with it. The wings curve around the edges of the 8-pointed mark, turning its jagged points inward, binding them. The scar still burns. The Chaos symbol still exists, but it cannot spread. Each pulse of Emperor's light scorches it, and each scorch eats a little of Marius's life. He feels it. He accepts it. Diana steps up to his side, shield raised. "Tell us what you need," she says. "Hold him," Marius says, nodding at Karoth. "I will pull this ship off your sky." Superman does not argue. He launches himself at Karoth. The Chaos Marine meets him with a roar, demon blade slashing. Their clash shakes the chamber. Wonder Woman leaps in from the side, shield smashing into Karoth's knee. The traitor stumbles. Batman hurls more void scramblers at key rune nodes around the circle, shutting down lines of power and forcing more energy into Marius's new bond. Outside, Earth's sky changes. The main tear over the planet stops widening. It shudders. Hal feels the pressure ease a fraction. "Whatever you're doing, do more," he says through gritted teeth. On the ground, breaches flicker. Demons pause mid-charge. Flash uses the heartbeat to drag another cluster of civilians out from between two collapsing towers. In Gotham, John pushes his mine outward, offering calm and resistance where Keroth tried to spread apathy before. In Atlantis, under the sea, Arthur raises his trident as a small tear opens in a trench, and his will joins the push. The whole world leans in. Marius digs his armored boots into the circle. Golden light pours from his scar into the warp knot. He feels the Emperor's presence behind him, not holding his hand, standing at his back. "You will not break this world," Marius tells Keroth. Keroth snarls, throwing Superman back with a blast of raw warp. The Kryptonian slams into the wall, leaving a dent. Diana steps into the gap, her bracelets crossed. The demon blade crashes into them. Sparks and warp fire fly. Batman slides in low, small device in hand. He slaps it onto Keroth's exposed, half-regrown side where Marius tore his armor in Gotham. The device detonates with a flat, white pulse. Not fire. Silence. For 1 second, the demon blade flickers. Its connection to the warp stutters. Keroth's eyes widen behind his helm. What? He does not finish. Superman hits him again, full force this time. The blow lifts the Chaos Marine off his feet. He slams into a twisted support column. Wonder Woman's sword follows, slicing through one of his arms. The demon blade tumbles away, clattering across the deck. Keroth roars. He reaches for another line of power. Lines of warp slide toward him from the knot. Marius sees it. He changes his grip. Instead of pushing all his light into the knot, he shapes some of it into a hand. An invisible, golden grip. He grabs those lines and yanks them away from Keroth. The Chaos Lord gasps as the power streaming into him is cut. "You dare," he spits. "Yes," Marius says. The strain is immense. His heart pounds so hard his chest feels like it will crack. His vision blurs. He tastes copper. He knows each second like this is a year of his life burning away. He holds. Keroth lunges toward the fallen demon blade. Batman is there first. He cannot lift it. It is too heavy, too wrong. But he can kick it. He slams his boot into the hilt. The blade skids across the floor and falls into one of the warp chains. The chain snaps, flinging the blade upward. It spins through the air and sticks into the ceiling. There, warp fire burns uselessly, far from Keroth's hand. Superman grabs the Chaos Lord by the chest. He is tired. Warp poison still stings in his cells. But he has one more full-strength punch in him. He uses it. He drives his fist into Keroth's helm, crumpling it. Metal cracks, bone cracks. For a moment he sees the eyes inside. They are not fully human anymore. But there is a flicker of fear. "You lose," Superman says. Keroth gurgles. Then he laughs. "Today," he rasps. "But the warp is patient. You will die. Your worlds will burn. Chaos always returns." "Maybe," Wonder Woman says. "But not now." She drives her sword through his chest. It is not a triumphant moment. It is clean, necessary. The warp mark on his armor flares and then implodes. His body goes limp. Warp energy rushes out, trying to tear the chamber apart. Marius yells. He drags that energy up, into the knot, and then out, through his scar, into the Emperor's light. For a heartbeat, he is a bridge between a dead Chaos Lord, a screaming warp gate, a fragile Earth, and an ancient god on a throne. Then the knot snaps. The warp engine chamber goes dark. Outside, the main tear over Earth shrinks. It does not vanish entirely. A scar of strange light remains in the upper atmosphere. But the storm is no longer feeding. The daemons, still on the ground, scream and dissolve. Pulled back into the closing wound, Hal drops into a hover above Coast City, ring dim but holding. He looks up and laughs once, breathless. "We did it," he whispers. On the streets, Flash leans against a broken wall, chest heaving. He watches demons turn to ash in the air. "Good choice," he says softly, trusting that someone, somewhere, hears. In Gotham, John lowers his head. The whispering pressure that has been trying to turn everyone's feelings off is gone. In the watchtower, Zatanna slumps into a chair. "Never going on a warp cruise again," she mutters. Dr. Fate removes his helmet for the first time in a long time. His human face looks very tired. In the warp engine chamber, Marius collapses to one knee. Smoke curls from the edges of his chest plate. His breath rasps. Diana catches his shoulder to steady him. Superman limps over. Batman walks, not runs, his body finally showing strain. "You held," Batman says. "Yes," Marius says. His voice is hoarse. "How much did that cost?" Superman asks. Marius closes his eyes. "Much," he says, "but I am not dead. Not yet." He knows he has fewer battles left now. He can feel the scar, smaller but deeper. The Emperor's light still sits there, a weapon of last resort, not to be used lightly. Wonder Woman touches the brand with 2 fingers, just for a moment. Her skin tingles. "This is not only a wound anymore," she says. "It is a vow." "Yes," Marius says. Batman looks at Kerith's fallen armor. He walks over, scans it, then kicks the cracked helm. "Don't get up," he says. It doesn't. He looks back at Marius. "You know this isn't the last invasion," he says. "Yes," Marius says again. "But you won a first true victory," Wonder Woman says. "Not just a skirmish. You broke a champion." Marius looks at her. "Not alone," he says. Superman puts a hand on his shoulder. "You chose the hardest job in 2 universes," he says. "We won't let you carry it alone." Days later, the world is still counting its dead. Metropolis holds a joint memorial near the river where Marius first rose from the water. Coast City rebuilds the plaza where the warp fountain formed. Gotham scrubs purple stains from cathedral stone. There are arguments. News feeds fill with footage of the battles. Some commentators call Marius a hero. Others call him a walking nuclear weapon owned by no country. General Lane stands in a Pentagon briefing room, pointing at charts, explaining casualties and near misses. Amanda Waller sits in a dark office, reading a secret report stamped with Imperium symbols, translated by John. He refuses full control, she says to herself. He refuses full obedience. He has a god for a boss and bats for friends. She leans back in her chair. There is no file category for that, she adds. She does not like it, but she cannot deny the results. In the Valiant Spear's data crypt, an inquisitor in bone-white armor reads the Emperor's decree. Her face is tight. So the throne allows this Astartes to act without our oversight in an alien realm, she says. A scribe nods nervously. Yes, Lady Inquisitor, he says. Mandate sealed by Custodes' witness, filed under cross-realm exception. The Inquisitor taps the parchment. Very well, she says. We watch. We gather data. If he strays, we argue for stricter measures. But until then, we obey. It is not easy for her, but even the Inquisition bows slowly to a direct imperial command. On the watchtower, Marius stands by the big window again. Earth turns below, not Terra, the other Earth, his second home front. The stars are the same shape, but the stories under them are different. He is out of armor from the waist up. For the first time in years, his head is bare too. Close-cropped dark hair, scars along his jaw, eyes that have seen too many wars. The brand on his chest is clear, an 8-pointed scar, wrapped in an aquila, faintly glowing, the tips of the wings brushed by a ring of 5 tiny stars. It looks painful. It is. But it also looks chosen. Superman steps up beside him. Doctors say you should rest, Clark says. Space Marines do not rest, Marius replies. Then, after a moment, he adds, but I will sit down for a while. He lowers himself onto a bench near the window. His bones ache in an unfamiliar way, not from impact, from being used as a conduit for divine power. Wonder Woman sits on his other side. Batman stands behind them, arms folded, watching both the planet and their new ally. So, Flash says, walking in with a tray of coffee, have we decided what your job title is? Marius looks at him. I do not think we need one, he says. That won't stop the UN, Batman says. They're drafting something already, Superman adds, half smiling. Interdimensional military liaison was on a memo I saw. Flash wrinkles his nose. Too long, he says. How about Night of Two Worlds? Wonder Woman smiles. That has a certain poetry, she says. Marius considers it. I am a captain in my chapter, he says. I am an envoy of my emperor. I am your ally. He looks at the planet below. If Night of Two Worlds helps your people understand, you may call me that, he adds. Flash grins. Done, he says. Batman does not repeat it, but he files it away. Superman leans back against the rail. What now? He asks. Marius answers without hesitation. Now we write the mandate in clear lines, he says. So there are no lies between us. He looks up at Batman. Say your conditions, he says. Let us be explicit. Batman nods. In this world, he says slowly, we do not use mass killing as a first tool. We do not burn a city because it is easier. We protect civilians whenever possible. If our governments ask you to flatten a country to end a war, you refuse. You answer to your emperor and to your own conscience, not to their fear. Marius listens. He feels the emperor's light warm in agreement. In my Imperium, he replies, we do not delay action because we are afraid to be harsh. If a breach forms that no shield can hold, if a city is lost beyond saving and the warp is eating its core, we must be willing to make hard choices. We must not let mercy for the few doom the many. If your league falls into denial and refuses to see that, I will argue against you. If needed, I will act. Superman meets his gaze. And if we disagree, Clark asks. Then we talk, Wonder Woman says before Marius can answer. We argue. We bring all our reasons. We do not act in secret. We do not let chaos push us into lonely decisions. Marius nods. Yes, he says. If I ever think Exterminatus is necessary, I will not call for it alone. I will stand here in this watchtower and make my case to you, and you will stand on Terra's soil and make your case if you think my Imperium plans to burn what could be saved. Batman's mouth firms. Agreed, he says. Superman nods. Agreed, he echoes. They all know there may be days when anger, fear, or exhaustion make these promises hard. That is why they speak them now. Out loud. Codex note. Under joint mandate, Brother-Captain Marius is bound to seek consent and counsel from both the Golden Throne and the Justice League before any world-scale purge, carrying written oaths that make secret exterminations a crime against both Imperium law and League charter. In Metropolis, months later, Jamie walks home from school. The sky is clean today, no tears, no warship, only clouds and sunlight. He passes a wall where someone has painted a new mural. It shows Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Green Lantern, the Flash, and a huge figure in blue armor, all standing in front of a cracked but still standing Earth. Above them, in simple letters, someone has written, "We stand together." Jamie smiles. He still keeps the plastic bag from that first day folded in his desk drawer. He looks up as something passes overhead. Far above, a small dot moves across the sky, too fast to be a plane, too slow to be a meteor. Jamie raises a hand like he's waving. He thinks, without knowing why, "Don't burn yourself up too fast, giant." In the warp, far away, Chaos' ruined essence drifts. He's not gone, not in the way that matters for Chaos. His body is broken, his blade lost, but his soul survives, torn, furious. He remembers the golden light that bound his mark. He remembers the giant in blue who said no. Hatred keeps him from dissolving. In the far reaches of the storm, whispers begin to gather around him. There will be other champions, other wars. He will be back. But next time, he will face not one rigid Imperium or one shining league. He will face something messier, a bridge. He hates that. It makes him plan harder. On Terra, in a silent chamber near the Golden Throne, a custode reads the latest reports from the other universe. He stands before a simple altar bearing a small hololith of a blue armored figure with a faint, glowing brand on his chest. "He has not fallen," the custode says softly. He sounds almost pleased. In the watchtower, Marius stands another watch. Warp signatures scroll across a screen. Most are tiny, random flares, but some are sharp. He marks them. He will go where the line bends too far. He hears footsteps behind him. Batman, no cape swish, just steady tread. "How long do you think you can keep this up?" Batman asks. "As long as I must," Marius says. "That's not an answer," Batman says. Marius considers. "Then this is," he says. "I will serve until my scar burns me to ash, or until your world no longer needs a bridge, or until the Emperor recalls me, whichever comes first." Batman steps up beside him. They look out together. "Try not to die," Batman says. "We're not done arguing with you yet." Marius's lips twitch. It is not quite a smile, but it is close. "You have my word," he says. He places one gauntleted hand against the glass. Below, Earth turns. Above, somewhere beyond sight, Terra burns in eternal light. Between them, one Space Marine stands as a line written in flesh and steel and stubborn, shared will. He is not perfect. He is not pure. He is not alone.